Chapter 1375. I can't. Ningyu's provocation worked. Ningyu's goading method really worked. The sapling placed the world tree branch that heavenly venerate 100 flowers had given it into the box before flying out of the storage ring in a blur. Let's see which 7th grade human sovereign is this strong. The sapling's gaze swept across the 7th floor of the Transcendence Pagoda before landing on the skinny cultivator. The expert Ningyu mentioned is you? Aside from your resemblance to Ningyu, that's about it. The skinny cultivator finally lost his composure when he saw the sapling. He realized that he couldn't clone the sapling. In other words, after so many years, something that couldn't be cloned had appeared. The skinny cultivator had to take this seriously. The first 3 cultivators that defeated him had all taken out treasures that couldn't be cloned by the Pagoda of Transcendence. Now that Ningyu had taken out such a treasure, could it be that Ningyu could also win? There's only 5 minutes left. There's not enough time. The thin cultivator felt slightly relieved. After all, there were still 5 minutes left before the half-an-hour deadline. The thin martial artist was confident that he could hold on for 5 minutes. 1 minute is enough to defeat you. The sapling was furious. He could display the strength of a pinnacle 2nd grade Earth Sovereign, yet the fake Ningyu said that he couldn't win in 5 minutes. That was simply a fantasy. The sapling used its full strength in its first attack. Bang! Under the powerful attack of the sapling, the skinny cultivator was not even able to block the first move. His body was sent flying backwards. You've lost. Seeing the thin cultivator being sent flying, Ningyu hurriedly said, I haven't lost yet. The skinny cultivator wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. I said defeat me, kill me. Another minute has passed. You only have 4 minutes left. Ha ha ha. The skinny cultivator laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. Let's attack together. Ningyu was confident in his own strength. Although he couldn't defeat a 2nd grade Earth Sovereign, it wouldn't be difficult for him to last 4 minutes. If he wanted to enter the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzuan, he could only succeed if he joined forces with the sapling. Otherwise, it would all be for naught. No problem. The sapling's thoughts were not that saintly. As long as it could win, who cared how many people besieged it? Rumble. Ningyu and the sapling worked together, and soon it was effective. Ningyu restrained the thin martial artist from the front while the sapling launched a sneak attack from behind. Powerful martial artists were not scary. What was scary was that they were powerful and knew how to sneak attack. Under the pincer attack of Ningyu and the sapling, the thin martial artist was quickly defeated. Congratulations, you are the 4th cultivator to defeat yourself in the Ascension Supremacy's Pagoda. The moment before his death, the skinny cultivator said to Ningyu, I can tell you that the first 3 cultivators who defeated themselves will have limitless achievements in the future. I hope you will not be arrogant in the future and climb to the heights of the first 3, 1 step at a time. With that, the eyes of the thin martial artist rolled over and he died on the spot. Kai. After the thin martial artist died, his body turned into an afterimage and fused with the air. I'm leaving first. Don't bother me if there's nothing important. The sapling's figure flashed and entered the storage ring in the blink of an eye. To be honest, Ningyu was very grateful that the sapling could take time out of its busy schedule to help him. Creak. As soon as the sapling entered the storage ring, the door to the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzuan slowly opened. Ningyu did not immediately enter the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzuan. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Ningyu had expended a lot of energy fighting the thin martial artist. If he entered the 8th level without recovering to peak condition, he would definitely encounter danger. Therefore, Ningyu had to adjust his mental state to peak condition before entering the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzuan. Swish. Outside the Tower of Yuzuan, the quarreling had already stopped. Everyone's gaze landed on the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzuan. Ever since Grandmaster Xingyun took out the Tower of Yuzuan, no one had been able to reach the 8th level. Even someone as powerful as Yarou Qiong could only reach the 7th level. This time, someone had a chance to reach the 8th level, so everyone would definitely be watching without blinking. The light on the 6th level has been extinguished. After a few minutes, a student suddenly pointed at the 6th level of the Tower of Yuzuan and exclaimed. Following the direction of the student's hand, everyone discovered that the light on the 6th level of the Tower of Yuzuan had indeed been extinguished. The light on the 6th level had been extinguished, but no one had come out from the Tower of Yuzuan. Clearly, someone from the 6th level of the Tower of Ascension had entered the 7th level. I didn't expect that kid to also reach the 7th level. Seeing the light on the 6th level extinguished, the student who supported Yarrow Cheung sighed. What do you mean by that kid has also reached the 7th level? Or rather, Yarrow Cheung has finally reached the 7th level, the student who supported Ningyu said unhappily. Is there even a need to think about it? That kid must have gotten some dogshit luck. Otherwise, how could he have reached the 7th level? The student who supported Yarrow Cheung curled his lips and said, do you guys really think that kid's soul force has reached the 7th grade? That's right, I admit that kid's martial strength is very strong, but it doesn't mean that his soul force is strong. Another student who supported Yarrow Cheung added, the higher the level of the Tower of Yuzuan, the stronger Yarrow Cheung's soul force will be. Yes, without reaching the 7th grade, it will be very difficult to reach the 7th level. I agree with Zhao Hu, that kid must have gotten some dogshit luck. The students who supported Yarrow Cheung gradually gained the upper hand and became the absolute leader. Until now, even the students who supported Ningyu were somewhat hesitant. Ningyu's martial strength was indeed strong, but what about his soul force? Could it be like what Zhao Hu said, that he had not reached the 7th grade? Catcher. Just as everyone was debating, the void above Nebula Academy suddenly split open, and an old man slowly appeared in front of everyone. Who? Seems like someone from the Frost Metal sect. I know, this is the sect master of the Frost Metal sect, called Frost Metal Pillar. Frost Metal Pillar? Are you sure you're not messing with me? How could someone have this name? Don't say that. Frost Metal Pillar is the sect master of the Frost Metal sect, a 3rd grade Earth Supreme. Provoking him won't do our Nebula Academy any good. What's there to be afraid of? Grandmaster Nebula isn't any weaker than him. The discussion of the students did not affect Yang Song. When Frost Metal Pillar appeared, his face was filled with ecstasy, and he leaped into the air. Sect Master, you're finally here, Yang Song said. Baijon was killed. I don't want to hear your explanation. Go back and receive your punishment. Frost Metal Pillar had a tall figure, and a cold expression appeared on his face. He interrupted Yang Song and said, where's that kid? Yang Song's heart skipped a beat when he heard Frost Metal Pillar's reprimand. Yang Song knew very well what punishment Frost Metal Pillar was talking about. It was the Frost Metal sect's terrifying punishment. However, Yang Song turned his grief and indignation into strength, and he blamed everything on Ningyu. That kid is in the Tower of Yuzuan, and he has already reached the 7th level. Chapter 1376. Crisis: the 7th floor of the Transcendence Tower. Cold Steel Pillar squinted his eyes as he stared at the Tower of Yuzuan and said indifferently, to be able to kill Baijon so easily, it means that his martial Dao is heaven-defying. To be able to ascend to the 7th level of the Tower of Yuzuan, it means that his soul energy is extremely powerful. I really want to meet him as soon as possible. I want to see just what kind of god he is. Yang Song was confused by Cold Iron Pillar's words. It seemed that Cold Steel Pillar didn't want to kill that brat, but rather, he was interested in his talent. It won't be that easy for Sect Master Han to meet him soon. At this moment, a faint laughter rang out from the depths of Nebula Academy. Before the person arrived, his voice came first. Not long after, a middle-aged man soared into the sky and landed in front of the Tower of Yuzu. Whoosh! Whoosh! Seeing the middle-aged man, Yang Song and the Frost Metal Pillar moved and descended. If it had been someone else, the Cold Steel Pillar might have continued to float in the air, looking down on the entire Nebula Academy. However, the middle-aged man was not an ordinary elder. He was the vice principal of Nebula Academy, Tang Weiguo. Tang Weiguo's cultivation was the same as Han Tianzhu's, a 3rd grade Earth Sovereign. It was so much so that Tang Weiguo's overall strength was superior to Han Taizhu. After all, aside from being a 3rd grade Earth Sovereign, Tang Weiguo was also a 9th grade alchemist. What do you mean? Cold Metal Pillar asked in confusion. Right now, he's on the 7th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda. He won't be coming out anytime soon. Tang Weigua explained. It's fine, I can wait, Cold Steel Pillar said. Since Headmaster Han wants to wait, our Nebula Academy will naturally not stop you. I just hope that we don't cause too much of a commotion here, otherwise, I won't be able to explain it to the headmaster. Tang Weigua brought up the dean, hoping to scare the Frost Iron Pillar. Hehe, this is Star Nebula Academy. Even if we have a grudge against that brat, we will absolutely not cause trouble here. Han Taizhu laughed. I hope so. After saying this, Tang Weigua did not say anything else. Since Tang Weigua didn't speak, the other students naturally didn't dare to speak. For a moment, the area in front of the Transcendence Pagoda became so quiet that even the sound of breathing could be heard. Sect Master, did you invite the higher-ups of Emperor God Palace over? Although Yang Song did not say anything, he was secretly transmitting his voice to the Cold Steel Pillar. A 9th grade Earth Supreme has arrived from the Emperor Palace. Han Taizhu said faintly, Baijon's death is only the fuse. The Emperor Palace has long wanted to take action against Nebula Academy. Hearing this, Yang Song was almost dumbfounded. Take action against Nebula Academy? Had the Emperor Divine Palace been kicked in the head by a donkey? In the Thousand Leaf Empire and even in the Pill Formation continent, everyone knew what it meant to attack a peak 9th grade alchemist. It would be fine if they managed to kill it, but if they failed, the consequences would be unimaginable, because the appeal of a peak 9th level alchemist was extremely terrifying. Just the slightest rumor would cause many powerful martial artists to flock to him like duck. Emperor Palace actually wanted to take action against Nebula Academy. In Yang Song's opinion, they were either being kicked in the head by a donkey or being caught in a door. Don't worry, the Emperor Palace won't attack Nebula Academy for no reason. They have been preparing for this operation for several years. Han Taizhu said, our mission is to attack that brat when he comes out. If the Nebula Academy obstructs us, then we will attack. Will we be suppressed and killed by the experts of Nebula Academy? Yang Song was still a little worried. After all, this was Nebula Academy. It was okay to make a fuss here, but if he really had to take action, he would definitely be afraid. Humph. Nebula Academy can't even take care of themselves, how could they send experts to kill us? Han Taizhu snorted, if I'm not wrong, the strongest expert of Nebula Academy should be Tang Weigua. If that's the case, I'm relieved. Although Yang Song said he was relieved, he was actually very worried. At the same time, in a hall in the deepest part of Nebula Academy, Grandmaster Xingyun sat in the main seat, and many experts sat on both sides of him. These experts were all Earth Supreme Masters, and their cultivations ranged from 3rd to 7th grade. It was so much so that there were even 2 to 3 8th grade Earth Sovereigns and 9th grade Earth Sovereigns. It could be said that all the peak experts of Nebula Academy were here. Everyone, tell me, what should we do now that a strong enemy is coming? Grandmaster Xingyun sat in the main seat. His face was expressionless as his eyes swept across the crowd. Everyone who was swept by Grandmaster Xingyun's gaze lowered their heads. Although Grandmaster Xingyun's cultivation was only at 7th grade, his soul energy had already reached the pinnacle of 9th grade, and he was only 2 steps away from 10th grade. Even if his soul energy hadn't reached 10th grade, Grandmaster Xingyun could still defeat ordinary 9th grade Earth Sovereigns with his soul energy alone. That goes without saying. We'll fight them to the death. A 9th grade Earth Supreme on the left side of Grandmaster Xingyun coldly said, if one comes, we'll kill one. If 2 come, we'll kill both. This 9th grade Earth Supreme was called Kwang Zhon, and he was born to be a battle maniac. Since Kwang Zhon had spoken, the rest chose to keep their mouths shut. In Nebula Academy, Kwang Zhon only listened to Grandmaster Xingyun's words. He never listened to anyone else. Rumor had it that the reason why Kwang Zhon listened to Grandmaster Xingyun was because Grandmaster Xingyun had saved his life. Of course, those were just rumors and couldn't be trusted. Nonsense. Grandmaster Xingyun's face turned cold. Kwang Zhon, your mission is to leave with the Yuzuan Pagoda. Go as far as you can, and don't come back without my orders. No, absolutely not. I want to fight, I want. Kwang Zhon's head shook. You can die, but you can't lose the Yuzuan pagoda. Grandmaster Xingyun gently knocked on his chair. Hearing Grandmaster Xingyun's words, Kwang Zhon's heart jolted. All right. Kwang Zhon opened his mouth and wanted to say something. But in the end, he only spat out 2 words. I've received news that the Emperor Palace is the main force, with the Jin family as support. There are also several second-rated forces participating. Grandmaster Xingyun's face turned grave. But don't worry too much. I've already contacted some old friends the moment I received the news. Grandmaster Xingyun emphasized the word old friends. When everyone in the hall heard Grandmaster Xingyun's words, they all had expressions of relief on their faces. Those that Grandmaster Xingyun called old friends were at least at the 8th grade Earth Supreme realm. There were even rumors that Grandmaster Xingyun had refined a quasi-10th grade elixir 3 years ago. That elixir was taken away by a Heavenly Supreme, and that Heavenly Supreme owed Grandmaster Xingyun a favor. Since Grandmaster Xingyun seemed to be fearless, it meant that the Heavenly Supreme would come to help. Chapter 1377. An outburst in front of the Tower of Yu. Whether it was Cold Steel Pillar, the Vice Dean of Nebula Academy, Tang Weigua, or the many students, everyone's gaze shifted towards the 8th floor of the Tower of Yuzu. For many years, no one had been able to reach the 8th floor of the Tower of Ascension. If someone managed to ascend to the 8th floor of the Tower of Yuzu today, it would be a great event for Nebula Academy and even the Thousand Leaf Empire. Grandmaster Xingyun had once said that any martial artist who could ascend to the 8th level of the Tower of Ascension would have even greater attainments in alchemy than him. Therefore, every once in a while, genius alchemists would come to challenge the Tower of Transcendence on the vast Dancheng mainland. In front of the Tower of Yu, the crowd held their breaths and did not speak. However, this silence lasted for half an hour before it was finally broken by a scream. Look, the 8th level of the Transcendence Pagoda seems to have lit up. Huala. When these words rang out, all the students in the area went into an uproar. This was because no matter if it was Ning Yu or Yarrow Cheong, as long as they could reach the 8th floor of the Tower of Yuzuan, it would be a terrifying thing. It's really over. Looks like Yarrow Cheong has ascended to the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzuan. Although I think more highly of that kid, I think that Yarrow Cheong has indeed entered the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzu first. I think so too. That kid's soul power is rather weak. Reaching the 7th level is already his limit. By now, some of the students who had originally supported Ning Yu had switched sides and supported Yarrow Cheong. After all, entering the 8th level of the Tower of Yuzuan was a kind of glory. To Nebula Academy, it was an indispensable glory. If this glory was obtained by someone else, it would be a devastating blow to the reputation of Nebula Academy. Have we reached the 8th floor? While almost everyone supported Yarrow Cheong, there were 2 cultivators who held a different opinion. Or rather, these 2 martial artists were very sure that the one who entered the 8th level of the Pagoda of Yu was not Yarrow Cheong, but Ning Yu. Tang Weigua, Hu Cheong. Of the 2 of them, one was the vice principal of Nebula Academy, and the other was an elder. No one knew better than them how difficult it was to reach the 8th level of the Ascension Supremacy Pagoda. Should we inform Master Xingyun? Hu Cheong said in a low voice with a solemn expression. No need. Grandmaster Xingyun knows what he's doing. Tang Weigua shook his head slowly and said, our mission is to wait for Yarrow Cheong here and protect her when she comes out. Protect her safety. Hu Cheong was slightly startled, then said, this is Star Nebula Academy. Could it be that there are people who dare to behave atrociously here? Since the establishment of Nebula Academy, no one had ever dared to behave atrociously in Nebula Academy. Even some Earth Supremes would have to be respectful when they entered, not daring to act rashly. Over time, many students and instructors of Nebula Academy had the misconception that no one would make a move against Nebula Academy. The real battlefield is not here. Taking a deep breath, Tang Weigua said, Grandmaster Xingyun will do everything possible to protect the Nebula Academy. However, if Grandmaster Xingyun doesn't have time to spare, we will also fight a bloody battle. Thump. Hu Cheong's heart skipped a beat. Was there really someone who dared to behave atrociously in Nebula Academy? The more Hu Chong thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. With a cold expression, he said in a deep voice, "Dean Tang, in my opinion, we should quickly transfer the students. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope." Hu Chong was not a pedantic person. After Tang Weiguo said a few words, he completely understood. In the past, because of Grandmaster Xingyun's deterrence, many forces did not dare to casually step into Nebula City. However, a month ago, someone spread the news that Grandmaster Xingyun suffered a serious injury when he was trying to break through to the third stage of the 9th grade alchemist. It was because of this that the enemies joined forces to attack Nebula Academy. Those warriors who signed up for the alchemy assessment, Hu Chong frowned and pointed at the warriors who signed up for the assessment outside of Nebula Academy. "Should we evacuate them now?" "No need. The enemy's target is Grandmaster Xingyun and the people of Nebula Academy, not the geniuses who signed up." Tang Weiguo shook his head and said, "What about the geniuses of Nebula Academy?" Hu Chong asked again. "Aside from Yarrow Cheung, everyone else is hiding in the secret chamber of Nebula Academy. As long as there's even the slightest disturbance, they will be transported to every corner of the Pill Formation continent." Tang Weiguo was very patient. After all, this concerned the life and death of Nebula Academy. At this time, every Earth sovereign would be of great use to the Nebula Academy. "When Yarrow Cheung comes out of the Yuzuan Pagoda, you'll be responsible for taking her away and moving the remaining students into the death chamber. I'll be responsible for bringing up the rear." After thinking about it, Tang Weiguo still felt that they should move the students away. As the saying goes, it's better to be safe than sorry. If those people went crazy and attacked Nebula Academy, the consequences would be unimaginable. "But..." Hu Chong opened his mouth and said, "No buts. I'm the vice dean. My words are orders." Tang Weiguo said coldly, "All right." Helpless, Hu Chong could only nod and said, "After I move the students away, I'll immediately come back to kill the enemies with you." Swish. Suddenly, the 7th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda cracked open and a figure shot out. "It's Yarrow Cheung. The one on the 7th floor is Yarrow Cheung. Doesn't that mean that the one on the 8th floor is that brat? How can that brat be so abnormal? He can even reach the 8th floor. Amazing. In my opinion, he should be recruited into Nebula Academy before him." The exclamations of the crowd did not affect Hu Chong. His figure flashed out, and when Yarrow Cheung fell to the ground, he caught her firmly. "Don't say anything. Come with me." Seeing that Yarrow Cheung was about to speak, Hu Chong hurriedly transmitted his voice, "It's not safe here. You need to leave as soon as possible." As he spoke, Hu Chong brought Yarrow Cheung towards the depths of Nebula Academy. "Where do you think you're going?" Originally, Cold Steel Pillar would not stop Hu Chong from leaving with Yarrow Cheung. Because his mission was to kill Ning Yu and provoke a conflict with Nebula Academy. But just a minute ago, he received an order from the upper echelons of Divine Emperor Palace. Surround Yarrow Cheung at all costs and ensure that Yarrow Cheung is killed. Because in a minute, the upper echelons of Divine Emperor Palace would arrive at Nebula Academy. Under this premise, if Hu Chong wanted to take Yarrow Cheung away, Cold Steel Pillar would definitely not stand idly by. With a flash, Cold Steel Pillar turned into a shadow and charged towards Hu Chong at an extremely terrifying speed. "You dare!" Tang Weiguo shouted, clenched his fists and punched at Cold Steel Pillar. "You dare to behave atrociously in Nebula Academy? Kill without mercy." Chapter 1378. Sparring. What's going on? Did Cold Metal Pillar eat a bear's heart and leopard's gall to cause trouble in the Nebula Academy? I heard that the Cold Metal sect had joined the Emperor Palace not long ago. Did Cold Metal Pillar get the Emperor Palace's permission to make a move this time? That's possible. The battle between two third-grade Earth sovereigns caused many students to exclaim as they retreated. Most of their cultivations were in the creation realm or low-rank human sovereign realm. Not to mention participating in this battle, they couldn't even withstand the shockwaves from Cold Metal Pillar's battle. TSK, TSK. Hu Chong, hand Yarrow Cheung over to me. I can recommend you to the higher hierarchy of the Emperor Palace and let you become an elder. Yang Song let out a weird laugh as he charged towards Hu Chong. In terms of speed, Hu Qiong might be faster than Yang Song. However, Hu Qiong was carrying Yaro Qiong, so his speed was naturally slower. Soon, he was blocked by Yang Song. What's going on? Yaro Qiong was depressed. She had just come out of the Yuzuan pagoda and encountered such a matter, which made her extremely depressed. Let me tell you, the Emperor Palace has joined forces to encircle the Nebula Academy. An arc rose on the corner of Yang Song's lips. If I've guessed correctly, the higher hierarchy of the Emperor Palace should be Russell. Before Yang Song could finish his words, the space above the Nebula Academy suddenly split apart. Russell, Russell, Russell. Soon after, many cultivators flew out of the void and landed in this area. Crack. Not long after those cultivators descended, the space before the Yuzuan pagoda slowly split apart and the group from the Nebula Academy slowly walked out. Haha, Grandmaster Xingyun, how have you been? Seeing the appearance of Grandmaster Xingyun's party, an old man from the Emperor Palace smiled. We would like to invite you to the Emperor Palace. I wonder if we can discuss this. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely find out that he knew the old man who spoke. Pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign of the Emperor Palace, D.I. Wuba. On either side of D.I. Wuba stood an old man. The two old men's auras were vigorous, and they seemed to be fusing with the void. Evidently, the two of them were also at the 9th grade Earth Sovereign realm. However, their cultivations were not at the pinnacle of the 9th grade Earth Sovereign realm, but late-phase 9th grade Earth Sovereigns. Aside from the two late-phase 9th grade Earth Sovereigns, the Emperor Palace had also sent out several 8th grade Earth Sovereigns and 7th grade Earth Sovereigns. It could be said that more than 10% of the experts of the Emperor Divine Palace had gone to Nebula Academy. Why are you talking so much nonsense? If you want to fight, let's fight. Before Grandmaster Xingyun could speak, Mad Warrior stepped out from behind him and said coldly, "Those who are afraid of death are coward." Berserker, 9th grade middle phase Earth Sovereign. D.I. Wuba said indifferently. I heard that Nebula Academy's Berserker likes to fight. How about this, let the two from our Emperor Palace spar with you first. Whoosh, whoosh. As D.I. Wuba's voice rang out, the two old men beside him took a step forward with disdain in their eyes. Who's afraid of you? Berserker was born to be arrogant. How could he tolerate being provoked by two old men? Although the other party was a late-phase 9th grade Earth Sovereign, Berserker was fearless. He took a step forward and said proudly, D.I. Wuba, if I kill these two old men, are you going to retreat? Berserker might be brainless when it came to a draw, but he was very quick-witted at the crucial moment. Before coming out, Grandmaster Xingyun had told Berserker that his old friend hadn't arrived yet. It wasn't appropriate for him to fall out with the people from the Emperor Palace for the time being. Ha ha ha, we'll talk after you win. D.I. Wuba didn't agree or disagree. He looked at the two late-phase 9th grade Earth Sovereigns and said, spar with Berserker. Don't bring shame to the name of the Emperor Palace. Whoosh, whoosh. Hearing D.I. Wuba's words, the two late-phase 9th grade Earth Sovereigns instantly charged towards Berserker from the left and right. The two old men were called D.I. Hei and D.I. Bai. Although they were only late-phase 9th grade Earth Sovereigns, they could exchange a few moves with a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign when they joined forces. Rumble. In an instant, Berserker and D.I. Hei clashed. Fart. As soon as they clashed, Berserker was sent flying and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Master Xingyun, this Berserker doesn't seem to be good enough. D.I. Wuba raised the corner of his mouth and said to Master Xingyun, I heard that Berserker is a battle maniac, but it seems that he doesn't live up to his name. We won't be able to determine the victor until the last moment. Master Xingyun's expression didn't change. No one could tell if he was happy or angry. Then let's see how long Berserker can last. D.I. Wuba shrugged. Rumble. In mid-air, Berserker fought 1 against 2. As the battle progressed, what D.I. Wuba had expected didn't happen. After being at a disadvantage in the beginning, Berserker became more and more courageous as the battle progressed, gradually suppressing D.I. Hei and D.I. Bai. This situation made D.I. Wuba's face turn ugly. Just a moment ago, he was mocking Berserker for being weak. Now, he was slapping him in the face. Grand Elder, we're stronger than them. Why aren't we taking the initiative? An 8th grade Earth Sovereign beside Di Wubar knitted his brows and said, Nebula Academy doesn't have any defenses. If we attack now, we can definitely take that thing. Nonsense. Di Wubar rebuked, without a pinnacle 9th grade alchemist, do you think we can take that thing away? You better behave yourself. Our mission is to stall Master Xingyun and Di by so that they can't take the Tower of Ascension away. The 8th grade Earth Sovereign's heart skipped a beat and he immediately asked, could it be that the thing is in the Tower of Ascension? Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Di Wubar said coldly, keep a close eye on the Tower of Yuzuan, don't let anything happen to it. Grand Elder, the 8th floor of the Tower of Ascension has lit up. There's someone inside. The 8th grade Earth Sovereign was like a chatterbox. That's troublesome. Rolling his eyes, Di Wubar turned around and said to Grandmaster Xingyun, Grandmaster Xingyun, Di He and the others are currently sparring with Crazy Battle in the Martial Dao. In my opinion, they should also be sparring in the Alchemy Dao. How are we sparring? Master Xingyun asked. Simple. We have two peerless geniuses in the Alchemy Dao with pinnacle 8th grade soul energy. Why don't we let them enter the Tower of Ascension and see which floor they can reach? Di Wubar said. Hearing Di Wubar's words, Master Xingyun fell into deep thought. A brief moment later, Master Xingyun's voice resounded. That's a good idea. I've decided to open the Tower of Ascension for everyone to enter. Rustle. Master Xingyun's words caused Di Wubar's face to change. Di Wubar knew that Master Xingyun had sealed the entrance of the Tower of Ascension to only allow those beneath the Earth Sovereign realm to enter. Chapter 1379. What? You don't dare? Grandmaster Xingyun looked at Di Wubar with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. Why wouldn't I dare? For some reason, Di Wubar felt like he was being stared at by a hungry wolf. If Grandmaster Xingyun had stopped him, he wouldn't have dared to send anyone into the Tower of Ascension. But now that Grandmaster Xingyun had opened the Tower of Ascension, he felt fearful instead. However, he wouldn't surrender in front of so many people. Since you've opened the Tower of Ascension, why don't we make a bet? Oh, what bet? Grandmaster Xingyun raised his brows. As long as someone from our Emperor Palace enters the 8th level, the Tower of Ascension will belong to us. Di Wubar said. What if you fail? Grandmaster Xingyun asked. We'll be teleported out if we fail. Is there a second choice? Di Wubar feigned ignorance. Shameless. Yes, shameless. If they win, they'll take the Tower of Ascension away. If they lose, nothing will happen. Be quiet. If Di Wubar hears you, we'll be in trouble. What's there to be afraid of? With Grandmaster Xingyun here, I don't believe that Di Wubar will dare to make a move here. The students of Nebula Academy were filled with righteous indignation. Di Wubar's logic was clearly that of a bandit. Your condition isn't too much. Unexpectedly, Grandmaster Xingyun pondered for a brief moment before saying, but there's a change. As long as someone can reach the 9th level of the Tower of Ascension, you can take the Tower of Ascension away. That's what you said. Di Wubar's face was filled with joy. There were two reasons why the Emperor Palace joined forces to encircle Nebula Academy. The first was to capture Grandmaster Xingyun alive and obtain the item that all alchemists yearned for. The second was to take the Tower of Ascension away. How could Di Wubar let go of the chance to take the Tower of Ascension away? All of you, enter the Tower of Ascension. Fearing that Grandmaster Xingyun would go back on his words, Di Wubar waved his hand and signaled the remaining experts to enter the Tower of Ascension. Hualala. Aside from the two 8th grade Earth Sovereigns, everyone else entered the Pagoda of Ascension without any hesitation. The reason why Di Wubar dared to do this was because he had a deep understanding of the Tower of Ascension. The Tower of the Supreme of You had stood tall in Nebula Academy for so many years, and the God Emperor Palace had already sent many alchemists to explore it. There was even a peak 9th grade alchemist who used a secret technique to send a clone into the Tower of Yuzu. After more than a decade of probing, the Emperor Divine Palace finally figured out the Tower of Ascension's tricks. Generally speaking, as long as one's soul and martial strength were strong, it wouldn't be too difficult to enter the 7th level of the Tower of Transcendence. But if he wanted to enter the 8th floor, He needed luck. Among the martial artists who came with Di Wubar this time, the weakest one's soul force was at the 7th grade. There were even quite a number of people whose soul power was at level 8 or even level 9. After preparing for so long, I can definitely enter the 10th level of the Tower of Ascension. Looking at the endless stream of cultivators entering the Tower of Ascension, Di Wubar's heart bloomed with joy. He was confident that as long as they could enter the Tower of Ascension, they would be able to obtain control over it. As for what Grandmaster Xingyun said about taking the Tower of Ascension away in the 9th level, he didn't care about it. Grandmaster Xingyun, didn't you say that the Tower of Ascension, seeing the cultivators of the God Emperor Palace entering the Tower of Ascension, a few 8th grade Earth Sovereigns of the Nebula Academy asked in puzzlement. It's fine. It won't be that easy for them to take the Tower of Ascension away. Grandmaster Xingyun waved his hand and interrupted the few 8th grade Earth Sovereigns. Have the peerless geniuses of the Nebula Academy been transferred away? All of them have been transferred away, aside from your disciple, Yarrow Cheung. One of the 8th grade Earth Sovereigns replied. It's fate. Grandmaster Xingyun shook his head slowly. He then closed his eyes and remained silent. Looking at Grandmaster Xingyun's actions, the few 8th grade Earth Sovereigns had admiration in their eyes. Initially, Yarrow Cheung could have been transferred away, but Grandmaster Xingyun chose to give up on Yarrow Cheung and transferred the other geniuses. Many of the students of the Nebula Academy came from the various forces. The God Emperor Palace dared to encircle the Nebula Academy, make a move against Grandmaster Xingyun and the elders, but they didn't dare to make a move against the students. After all, any student that could enter the Nebula Academy was a peerless genius in their family. If they made a move against the students, it would mean that they would have to face the condemnation of the various forces in the Pellet Formation continent. At the same time, in the 8th level of the Ascension Tower, Ning Yu stood in the center with joy on his face. The density of the Yuan Qi in the 8th level of the Transcending Supremacy Pagoda was abnormally terrifying. Rustle. It was so much so that the 2 spatial laws and saplings flew out from his spatial ring and started devouring the energy. Ning Yu did not stop them. He was trying his best to find the array core of the 8th level. Originally, the 8th and 9th levels of the Transcendence Pagoda had been pulled into 2 ancient arrays by Ning Yu in his previous life. After more than 20 years of evolution and Grandmaster Xingyun's help, the entire 8th level of the Ascension Tower had fused with the ancient array. The only way to control the array was to find the array core. Otherwise, Ning Yu would definitely die here. The array core has deviated. It should be on the other side. Ning Yu moved his feet and moved back and forth on the 8th level in a strange manner. Although the ancient array had fused with the 8th level of the Ascension Tower, its power had been greatly reduced. Otherwise, the saplings and the spatial laws would not be as relaxed as they were now. Humans are really inferior to trees, and humans are inferior to the spatial laws. Ning Yu rolled his eyes when he saw the saplings and the spatial laws leisurely devouring the energy. Found it. Although Ning Yu was looking at the saplings and the spatial laws, his feet did not stop moving. It didn't take long for Ning Yu to find the array core. Rustle. With a thought, Ning Yu forced out a drop of blood essence and threw it toward the array core. Ning Yu knew very well how to control the array. As long as the array core absorbed the blood essence, he would be able to completely control the array. Although this method seemed relatively simple, it took him a long time to discover it in his previous life. Kai Kai. The blood essence was thrown into the array core and was quickly absorbed by the array core. Boom. Ning Yu felt a roar in his head. Then, his connection with the array deepened several times. Good. Ning Yu was overjoyed when he sensed the changes in the array. Originally, the main function of the array was to nurture soul power. Its offensive power was relatively weak. But now, not only had its ability to nurture soul power increased, even its offensive power had become abnormally terrifying. Chapter 1380. Relax. Not good. Just when Ning Yu took control of the 8th level's array, Nebula Master's face changed. His face turned extremely dark and he couldn't help clenching his fists. It was no wonder that Nebula Master's face changed. The 8th level's array was his trump card, a trump card that would determine if he could kill that cultivator from the Emperor Palace. As long as he was in control of the array, he could kill anyone beneath the 7th grade Earth Sovereign realm. That also meant that he could kill all the experts from the Emperor Palace that entered the Tower of Ascension. But now that the array was being controlled by someone else, the situation had become complicated. Nebula Master, what's going on? The actions of Grandmaster Xingyun caused the few Nebula Academy elders beside him to reveal worried expressions as they hurriedly asked. Nebula Master was the trump card of the Nebula Academy. If anything happened to him, the consequences would be unimaginable. After all, many people had agreed to help the Nebula Academy and pressured the Emperor Palace and Jin family because of Nebula Master. It could be said that the moment something happened to Nebula Master, everyone would scatter. It's fine, don't worry. Taking a deep breath, Nebula Master waved his hand. At this moment, Nebula Master had no other choice. With Di Wuba here, he couldn't possibly force his way into the Tower of Ascension, right? Moreover, even if he could force his way into the Tower of Yuzuan, what about the other elders? With Di Wuba's character, he definitely wouldn't let them go. Therefore, Nebula Master didn't dare to enter the Tower of Ascension at this moment to seize control of the 8th level's array. The only thing that made him feel relieved was that the 8th level's array was definitely not controlled by the Emperor Palace. It had only been 10 minutes since the experts from the Emperor Palace entered the Tower of Ascension. 10 minutes to reach the 8th level of the Tower of Ascension? That was simply unrealistic. I hope that you won't disappoint me. A skinny silhouette appeared in Nebula Master's mind. Ningyu. Nebula Master had seen Ningyu not long ago. At that time, he had conducted a thorough check on Ningyu and was almost certain that Ningyu wasn't someone from the Emperor Palace or Jin family. Nebula Master was more or less at ease letting someone like him control the array. Who? At the same time, on the 8th floor of the Transcendence Tower, Ningyu heaved a sigh of relief, and a hint of excitement appeared between his brows. Although he had to use this method to regain control of the array, Ningyu was still very excited. Using this formation, I will soon be able to raise my soul power to the peak of the 8th grade. After gaining a slight understanding of the current structure of the Great Formation, Ningyu sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate his spiritual power in the formation core. Ningyu's current soul force was at the late stage of rank 8. Just one more step and it would reach the peak of rank 8. When one's soul power reached the 8th grade, it was extremely difficult to increase it even a little bit. Relying on the formation, Ningyu was confident that he could raise his soul power to the peak of the 8th grade in half an hour. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. On the 8th level of the Transcendence Tower, Ningyu opened his eyes and soul force slowly surged out of his body. Kai kai. The friction between his soul force and the void created a sizzling sound. Peak of the 8th grade. Not bad. Feeling the strength of his soul power, Ningyu nodded slightly, satisfied. Raising his soul power from the late stage to the peak of the 8th grade in half an hour had indeed met Ningyu's expectations. The Yuan Qi on this level is more vigorous. Cultivating here will yield twice the results with half the effort. After thinking about it, Ningyu did not leave. Instead, he continued to sit cross-legged and began to use the spiritual transformation technique to absorb the surrounding Yuan Qi. Not long after Ningyu absorbed the Yuan Qi, he raised his eyebrows and revealed a solemn expression. All of you, stop. Ningyu turned around and scolded the sapling and the law of space. What are you doing? If there's nothing else, we still have to continue absorbing Yuan Qi. Clearly, whether it was the sapling or the law of space, they did not take Ningyu's words to heart. The Yuan Qi here was extremely dense and full of energy. They could absorb a massive amount of energy every second, so wouldn't it be more painful for Ningyu to ask them to stop? There are people coming from the first few levels. If I've guessed correctly, there should be Earth Sovereigns among them, and they should be advanced Earth Sovereigns. Ningyu said solemnly. What? Hearing Ningyu's words, the sapling and the law of space were shocked. Someone had barged into the Ascension Tower, and they were all Earth Sovereigns? Damn it. The sapling was furious. Wasn't this clearly ruining his plan? This was simply intolerable. Which level are they on? I'll kill them right now, the sapling said arrogantly. The sapling shouted loudly, looking as if it was not afraid of anything. Among them, the one with the lowest cultivation is a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign, Ningyu explained. I'm a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign. Ningyu's words not only left the sapling dumbfounded, but even the law of space was dumbfounded. 5th-grade Earth Sovereign? And you're saying it so calmly? What the hell is going on with this world? After recovering from his shock, the sapling immediately said, Ningyu, don't blame me for not warning you. With my current strength, even if I devour the world tree branch from the 100 Flowers Heavenly Sovereign, I'm still not an Earth Sovereign's opponent. Even the sapling and I can't kill a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign. We can't even last a single move. The law of space echoed. You've misunderstood. Ningyu shook his head slowly and said, Misunderstood what? The sapling and the law of space could see the doubt in each other's eyes. What I mean is that the weakest among them is a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign, and there are even 2 7th-grade Earth Sovereigns. Ningyu explained, our mission is to get rid of them. Through the array on the 8th level, Ningyu had a comprehensive understanding of the outside world. Ningyu could even communicate with Grandmaster Xingyun through the Ascension Pagoda. It's just that Ningyu didn't try to contact Master Xingyun. It's over, it's over. Am I going to die here today? The sapling's face was filled with displeasure. Facing a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign right now was akin to courting death without any chance of survival. Don't be pessimistic. As long as I'm in the 8th level, those 5th-grade Earth Sovereigns will soon be executed. Ningyu constantly encouraged the sapling and the law of space, telling them not to be pessimistic. After all, there was still a chance. Chance, my ass. The sapling and the law of space didn't give Ningyu a good look. You're a 7th-grade mortal sovereign, yet you want to confront a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign? Isn't that no different from courting death? Watch carefully. Chapter 1381. Chapter 1381. Killing 1-inch. My God. You can actually control this level's spiritual array? Ningyu's actions had shocked the sapling to the point that it even cursed. The sapling knew how powerful this spiritual array was. If Ningyu could control this spiritual array, then he might even pose a threat to a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign. Whoosh! The cold light swiftly passed through the last few levels and came to the 3rd level in the blink of an eye. Many Emperor God Palace experts had gathered on the 3rd floor of the Transcendence Tower. Aside from a few powerful cultivators, the rest stayed on the 3rd level and did not choose to enter the 4th level. Before coming to the Nebula Academy, Master Tien told us to carefully investigate the Ascension Pagoda. We have to do our best in every level and not let any traces go. On the 3rd level of the Ascension Tower, there were about a dozen peerless experts from the Emperor God Palace. All of them were at the Earth Sovereign realm. The one with the highest cultivation was a pinnacle 5th-grade Earth Sovereign, Tian Buwei. At this moment, Tian Buwei had become the leader of the Emperor Palace's experts and was in charge of the 3rd level of the Ascension Pagoda. It wasn't surprising, since Tian Buwei was the last disciple of Master Tien, a pinnacle 9th-grade alchemist that had already reached the 2nd stage of liquefaction. The main reason why Master Tien chose to come to Nebula Academy this time was because he wanted to find a way to turn liquid into a pill here. For a pinnacle 9th-grade alchemist, every step forward required a great price. If there was a shortcut, then any pinnacle 9th-grade alchemist would go crazy. We did not discover any problems in the first 2 levels. Tian Buwei continued, but the 3rd level is different. The 3rd level is a dividing line, as long as we, shit. Before Tian Buwei could finish his words, he immediately retreated. Whoosh! A cold light arrived before a spear shot out like a dragon. The cold light turned into the shape of a dragon and pounced towards Tian Buwei. Quick, help. No matter what, we have to ensure Tian Buwei's safety. The sudden change had caused everyone's faces to drastically change. Tian Buwei was Master Tien's last disciple. If he encountered any danger here, even Di Wuba would be in trouble, let alone them. Therefore, nothing must happen to Tian Buwei. Poochie. Dreams were plentiful, but reality was always harsh. The experts from the Emperor Divine Palace were stunned on the spot before they could act. That was because the huge dragon formed by the cold light had arrived in front of Tian Buwei. It opened its mouth and swallowed Tian Bu Wei into its stomach. Rumble. Then, the dragon suddenly exploded, and a huge shockwave spread in all directions. Not good. Retreat quickly. Hurry up and enter the 4th level, or else it will be too late. The martialists from Emperor Divine Palace were not fools. Although they wanted to protect Tian Buwei, he was already dead. Staying behind would be a pointless sacrifice. Since that was the case, he might as well enter the 4th level of the Tower of Yuzuan first and look for other ways. Capture. At the same time, outside the Tower of Ascension, an 8th grade Earth Sovereign of the Divine Emperor Palace suddenly had an unsightly expression. Great Elder, there's a problem. The 8th grade Earth Supreme had long hair and was a woman. At this moment, she took out a jade token with a cold expression. What's going on? Looking at the jade token in the woman's hand, Di Wuba slightly knitted his brows. He vaguely felt that something was amiss. Among the 20 prodigies that entered the Tower of Yuzuan, 5 of them had a soul jade token. As long as they died, their soul jade tokens would shatter. Now that one of them had shattered, didn't that mean that a prodigy had died in the Tower of Yuzuan? Although Di Wuba's expression did not change much on the surface, his heart was in turmoil. Good move, truly a good move. Even Di Wuba's expression changed when he looked at Grandmaster Xingyun. On the surface, they let the people of Emperor Divine Palace enter the Tower of Yuzuan, but they're actually well prepared. Their moves have truly reached perfection. Great Elder, it's Tian Bu Wei's. Tian Bu Wei's soul jade token. The long-haired woman shook the shattered soul jade token in her hand. She even stuttered when she spoke. Tian Bu Wei's soul jade token? It's fine. He's just a peerless genius, Emperor Divine Palace. Wait. Di Wuba waved his hand and pretended to be calm. However, before he could finish his sentence, he seemed to have thought of something and asked in surprise, whose soul jade token did you say it was? Tian Bu Wei, the long-haired woman answered honestly. Fut. Hearing the long-haired woman's words, Di Wuba felt a ball of fire burning in his chest. Then, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Grandmaster Xingyun, clenching his fists tightly, Di Wuba revealed an extremely cold expression. Anyone could die, but not Tian Bu Wei. Now that Tian Bu Wei had died in the Tower of Yuzuan, how was he going to explain it to Grandmaster Tian? Although Grandmaster Tian's attainments in alchemy were slightly weaker than Grandmaster Xingyun's, he was still a top-notch alchemist. Now that his last disciple had been killed, how was he going to explain it to him? Thinking of this, Di Wuba's chest tightened. He couldn't wait to rush into the Tower of Yuzuan to see what had happened. What's the matter? Grandmaster Xingyun's attention was always on the 8th floor of the Tower of Yuzuan, as well as the battle between Di He and Di Bai. As for Di Wuba's anger, he didn't notice it. Good move. Di Wuba's expression was cold. You even dared to kill Grandmaster Tian's last disciple. Looks like you're confident that you can get through this crisis. Grandmaster Tian's last disciple? Grandmaster Xingyun was slightly stunned and a little confused. To be honest, he really didn't know anything about Tian Bu Wei's death. He had obtained the Tower of Yuzuan for many years, but he had never been able to completely master it, let alone use it to kill his enemies. His only reliance was the peerless killing array on the 8th floor of the Tower of Yuzuan. The martial artists of Emperor Palace had yet to reach the 8th floor. Had someone already died? Don't play dumb with me. Nebula Academy will be annihilated because of your foolish actions today. Di Wuba was completely enraged. Since reinforcements from Emperor Palace were coming, there was no problem in making things difficult for Nebula Academy now. Rumble. Just as Di Wuba was about to make a move, the battle in the air had already been decided. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 figures were sent flying in 3 different directions. Bang bang bang. Without a doubt, the 3 figures landed heavily on the ground. Among them, Nebula Academy's berserker suffered the heaviest injuries. Several bones in his body were broken, and even his breathing was a little hurried. On the other hand, Di He and Di Bai's situation was slightly better. But even if their situation was better, it wasn't much better. After this battle, They had already lost their basic fighting strength and couldn't withstand a battle between 9th grade Earth sovereigns. Chapter 1382. Make contact. Whoosh. Seeing Di Bai and Di Hei's miserable state, Di Wuba appeared before them. Waving his right hand, 2 white elixirs appeared in his palm. Receiving the elixirs, Di Hei and Di Bai immediately threw them into their mouths and started to refine them. Buzz. Buzz. As soon as the elixirs entered their mouths, Di Hei and Di Bai's bodies underwent a transformation. Evidently, these 2 elixirs were peerless and of high grade. Grandmaster Xingyun, should we, seeing Di Wuba's actions, an elder from Nebula Academy hesitated. The elder's meaning was clear. Since others have taken out elixirs to treat their own people, shouldn't we take out a few as well? How could Grandmaster Xingyun not know what that elder meant? However, he waved his hand and faintly said, Berserker's physique is unique, he can recover by himself. Recover by himself? Di Wuba happened to hear Grandmaster Xingyun's words. Raising his brows, Di Wuba revealed a disdainful smile and said, Who doesn't know how to brag? Let me give you a piece of advice. Treat Berserker as soon as possible. Otherwise, this battle maniac might die. What do you mean? Before Grandmaster Xingyun could speak, Berserker's eyes widened as he stared at Di Wuba. When I recover, you'll be the first one I kill. Ayo, I'm so scared. Di Wuba patted his chest. Not to mention that you haven't recovered yet, even if you fully recovered,
He understood
I can
the
still
Yuzuan
kill you
pagoda
without
very
any
well.
effort. Normally,
Bui
when
had
the
just
light
been
disappeared,
killed,
so
it
the
meant
2
that there were
8th-grade
2
Earth sovereigns on his
possibilities.
side were
The
in low
first
spirits.
was to reach a higher
At this
level.
moment,
Of
Di
course,
Wuba naturally had to do everything he could to raise their morale.
for the people
Mocking
from Emperor God
Berserker
Palace
was a good idea.
After all,
Crack,
the 5th level
crack.
of the Transcendence
After
Pagoda
Kwangzhong
did not
glared
shine.
at Di Wu
As for
Ba
the
coldly,
second
he
possibility,
no longer paid
it was a
attention
little
to him.
scary.
Instead,
the second
he sat
possibility
cross-legged
was
on the
that he was
ground and formed
teleported
a
out
series
by
of
the
hand
Tower
seals.
of Yuzuan.
As
In the
Berserker
current
Jean formed a
situation,
series
it
of
was
hand
clear
seals,
that such a
the broken
situation
bones
had
in
not
his body
occurred.
began to heal
It wasn't
slowly.
normal for the
What
2
left everyone
situations
shocked
to not
was that the
occur.
healing speed
Could
of
it be that
Berserker's
the
bones
cultivators
wasn't
of
any
the Emperor
slower than
God
Di
Palace
Hei
have
and
all
Di
died in the
Bai's?
4th level?
In fact,
Suddenly,
it wasn't any
one of the
slower,
students
but
broke the
faster.
silence.
Di
The
Wuba's
student's
face
voice
was
rang out,
extremely
and it
unsightly.
immediately caused
Just
many
a moment
students
ago,
to start
he was mocking
discussing
Berserker,
spiritedly.
and now
The
he was
Emperor
being
God
slapped in the
Palace
face.
has suffered a great
Look
loss
at the
this
Ascension
time.
Pagoda.
If so many
Suddenly,
geniuses
the
died in the
long-haired
Yuzuan
woman from the
Pagoda,
Arch Palace
they would
pointed
probably
at the
vomit
Tower
blood.
of Ascension and
What you
shouted,
said isn't right.
Di Wuba's
The
heart
6th and
stirred,
7th
and he
levels of the
hurriedly
Yuzuan
looked at the
Pagoda
Ascension
aren't
Pagoda.
shining anymore.
At this moment,
That means
the
that the
6th,
Emperor God
7th,
Palace has
and
not
8th
been
levels
completely
of the
wiped
Yuzuan
out,
Pagoda
and there
lit
are
up.
still people in
The
the
rest
6th
of the
and
levels
7th
were
levels.
dark. No
What
matter
happened?
what,
The Emperor
Di
God
Wuba
Palace
has
has
suffered
suffered
the most severe
He did not
test.
know what the
The
long-haired
majority
woman
of the
meant.
students that spoke
Just now,
had a deep
the 4th
background,
level of the
with
Yuzuan
Earth sovereigns
Pagoda
in their
also
families.
shone, but
There
it
were a
suddenly
few
disappeared.
students hidden in the
The
crowd
long-haired
that
woman
usually did not look
explained.
conspicuous.
So what if it's
but
gone?
this time,
The
they had
disappearance of
ridiculed
the light
Emperor
means
God
that
Palace.
they've entered the 5th.
There was no other
What?
reason than the fact
Before
that there were pinnacle
Wuba could
9th
finish
grade
his
Earth
sentence,
sovereigns and
his
even
eyes
heavenly
widened
sovereigns
as if
in
he
their
had seen a
families.
ghost.
These students usually hid in the Nebula Academy to investigate the Yuzuan Pagoda and find a way to communicate with Grandmaster Xingyun. They were about to succeed, but the Emperor God Palace's encirclement ruined their plans. So how could they be happy? These students had already used a secret technique to contact the sects behind them. In a short period of time, the peerless powerhouses of their sects would rush over from all over the Pellet Formation continent to pressure the Emperor God Palace. Damn it! Di Wuba's face was extremely dark. Go contact them again. Why isn't the sect master here yet? Di Wuba couldn't wait any longer. He couldn't wait to enter the Yuzuan Pagoda. If this went on, the elites that he had brought over might all be wiped out. And he couldn't bear the price of that. I've already contacted them. They'll take at least 10 minutes. The long-haired woman was a little careful with her words, afraid of angering Di Wuba. Hurry them. They must be here in 5 minutes. Di Wuba said fiercely. The sect master probably has his own concerns. The long-haired woman opened her mouth and said softly. To be honest, the long-haired woman was in a difficult position. On one side was Di Wuba, and on the other was the sect master. She couldn't afford to offend either of them. Hurry them. Tell them that something has happened to the Yuzuan Pagoda. Taking a deep breath, Di Wuba said coldly. If they don't come, the Yuzuan pagoda might be taken away by others. Is it really okay to say that? The long-haired woman hesitated. There's nothing wrong with it. Even Tian Bu Wei died in there. Is there no problem with the Yuzuan pagoda? Di Wuba said indifferently. There's a huge problem with the Yuzuan pagoda. If they don't come, Grandmaster Xingyun will leave with the Yuzuan pagoda. Fine, I'll say it like that. The long-haired woman gritted her teeth and said solemnly. Grandmaster Xingyun, I'll say it again. If you're willing to follow me to the Emperor God Palace, I promise I won't do anything to the students of Nebula College. Di Wuba turned and said to Grandmaster Xingyun. Di Wuba spoke sincerely, but Grandmaster Xingyun's attention wasn't on him. Instead, it was on the 8th floor of the Yuzuan pagoda. On the 8th floor of the Yuzuan pagoda, Ningyu thought about it and decided to contact Grandmaster Xingyun. The reason why Ningyu contacted Grandmaster Xingyun was because he had thought about it carefully. His cultivation was indeed very low. As long as he left the Yuzuan pagoda, he would be killed. Ningyu was very clear that there was only one way for him to leave this place. He had to find a way to enter the 10th floor of the Yuzuan pagoda and gain complete control of the Yuzuan pagoda. The crux of this method was whether Grandmaster Xingyun could buy him enough time. Chapter 1383. Reaching an agreement. Try to buy as much time as possible. After contacting Master Xingyun, Ningyu transmitted his voice. I have a way to annihilate all the experts of the Emperor Palace in the Tower of Ascension. Ningyu wasn't a fool, so he did not reveal anything to Master Xingyun. Ningyu would definitely not tell anyone about his rebirth, not even his relatives. Even if he told Master Xingyun, Ningyu would only reveal himself as his disciple and address Master Xingyun as a senior and junior brother. How long do you need? Master Xingyun seemed to be waiting for Ningyu to contact him. His expression was indifferent and his tone was emotionless. I can only buy you 3 hours at most. Any more and I won't be able to do it. 3 hours is enough. Ningyu never expected that Master Xingyun could buy him 3 hours. Ningyu initially estimated that it would be an hour. As long as Master Xingyun could last for an hour, he would be able to enter the 9th or even the 10th level of the Tower of Ascension. The moment he entered the 10th level, Ningyu would have a way to control the Tower of Ascension and unleash the power of this treasure. I hope that you won't disappoint me. Grandmaster Xingyun's indifferent voice resounded in Ningyu's ears. After that, he became completely silent, cutting off the connection with Ningyu. Although it might seem safer to use the Tower of Ascension to contact Ningyu, it wasn't. Di Wuba was a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign, so he might have a secret technique to cut off all communication. At that time, it would be tough for him to drag it out for another 3 hours. Master Xingyun, you've truly left something behind in the Tower of Ascension. Di Wuba's gaze was cold as he stared at Master Xingyun. From now on, you are not allowed to contact anyone in the Tower of Ascension, not even through voice transmissions or any other method. Rustle. As he spoke, Di Wuba flicked his wrist and threw a scroll out. The scroll suddenly split open in the sky and turned into pillars of light that enveloped the Tower of Ascension. Di Wuba, don't go too far. On the Nebula Academy's side, an 8th grade Earth Sovereign coldly said, this is the Nebula Academy, not a place for you to behave atrociously. The 8th grade Earth Sovereign roared towards the sky. Activate. Along with the voice of the 8th grade Earth Sovereign, space exploded and soul energy interweaved into chains that enveloped the entire Nebula Academy. Soul Chain Array. Looking at the soul chain in the void, Di Wuba's face turned completely cold. He was too careless. Before coming here, Di Wuba had already understood the Nebula Academy's great protective array and had thought of a way to break it. Initially, Di Wuba thought that Grandmaster Xingyun didn't make things difficult for him because the protective array was destroyed and Grandmaster Xingyun thought that it wouldn't be able to trap him. Who would have thought that everything was just his wishful thinking? Not only could the spiritual chain array trap him, but it could also obstruct ordinary heavenly sovereigns. Of course, it couldn't completely obstruct heavenly sovereigns. It could only block them for a short period of time. Di Wuba, I told you not to get cocky. This is the Nebula Academy, it's not a place for you to behave atrociously. The 8th grade Earth Sovereign who spoke earlier said coldly. Good, very good, very good. At this point, Di Wubar had calmed down. Di Wubar thought about it carefully. This was the Nebula Academy. Unless Grandmaster Xing Yun had a heavenly sovereign, no one would dare to fight him here. He was afraid of accidentally injuring other students, and Grandmaster Xing Yun was even more fearful. Grandmaster Xing Yun, the experts from God Emperor Palace will arrive in 5 minutes. Let's see how arrogant you can be then. Di Wubar sat cross-legged in front of the Tower of Yuzuan, protecting it so that Grandmaster Xing Yun wouldn't have any chance to approach it. What should we do? The 8th grade Earth Sovereign from the Nebula Academy asked in a low voice. Wait. Grandmaster Xing Yun didn't say much. There was only one word, wait. Hearing Grandmaster Xing Yun's words, everyone from the Nebula Academy was slightly stunned. Even the Soul Chain Array had been activated. Why didn't they attack Di Wubar and the rest? The experts of the Nebula Academy couldn't understand, let alone the students. Tang Weiguo, leave with these students first. Grandmaster Xing Yun's expression didn't change much. I believe that Di Wubar won't attack them. But, Tang Weiguo hesitated. He wanted to say something, but he swallowed his words. Apart from Yaro Qiong, these students weren't Di Wubar's main targets. Helplessly, Tang Weiguo could only leave with these students. Whoosh! As soon as the students left Nebula Academy, they scattered like birds and beasts, one after another, flying in all directions. They could sense that the experts from their sects or clans had arrived at Nebula City, but they didn't choose to approach the Nebula Academy. Since the war hadn't broken out, it was understandable that they didn't come. Sigh. Looking at the backs of these students, Tang Weiguo sighed and returned to the Nebula Academy, in front of the Tower of Yuzuan. Crack, crack. As soon as Tang Weiguo returned, he heard 2 crisp sounds. The long-haired woman's face was filled with panic. There were 2 soul jade tokens in her hands. Obviously, another 2 peerless geniuses from the Emperor Palace had died in the Tower of Yuzuan. Great Elder, should we come up with a countermeasure? The long-haired woman looked at the 2 shattered soul jade tokens in her hands and asked hesitantly. No need, let's wait for another 5 minutes. How could Di Wubar not think of a countermeasure? Right now, there was nothing he could do. If they angered Grandmaster Xing Yun, they might really be annihilated here. After all, the experts from the Emperor Palace hadn't arrived yet. If Grandmaster Xing Yun were to attack them now, they couldn't do anything but fight to the death. Crack, crack. 5 minutes might seem short, but in fact, it was very slow. In the next few minutes, 2 more of the 3 remaining soul jade plates on the long-haired woman broke. Now, only one of the 5 peerless geniuses from the Emperor Palace was still alive in the Tower of Yuzuan. Initially, the Emperor Palace had created 6 soul jade tokens for the 5 peerless geniuses, including Tian Buwei's. At this moment, 5 soul jade tokens had shattered, and the last one was also the one with the highest cultivation. A 7th grade Earth Sovereign with a pinnacle 8th grade soul force. The sapling and the law of space. That person from the 7th level of the Yuzuan Pagoda should be here. In the 8th level of the Yuzuan Pagoda, Ningyu's expression was grave. The 3 of us will have to fight together. What's the cultivation of that fellow from the 7th level? The sapling and the law of space asked at the same time. They couldn't help it. The 2 of them together weren't a match for a 3rd grade Earth Sovereign. If that fellow from the 7th level was powerful, then they would have to consider hiding in their spatial rings. Chapter 1384. Emperor Peak. His cultivation isn't very high, only a 7th grade Earth Supreme. Ningyu's tone was calm, and no one could tell if he was happy or angry. I'm a 7th grade Earth Supreme. Ningyu's tone was calm, but it was like a raging wave in the sapling and the law of space's ears. A 7th grade Earth Supreme isn't very high. One must know that you're only a 7th grade Earth Supreme. The gap between the 2 of them was a whole level. Since ancient times, there had never been a 7th grade Earth Supreme that could fight a 7th grade Earth Supreme head-on. Relying on this level's array, it's not impossible for us to fight. Ningyu could naturally see the worries of the sapling and the law of space. Truth be told, without the array, Ningyu would have run away long ago. Why would he wait until now? After all, he couldn't fight a 2nd grade Earth Supreme with his current strength, not to mention a 7th grade Earth Supreme. If he fought with a 7th grade Earth Sovereign right now, he would definitely die. Naturally, he could still confront a 7th grade Earth Sovereign by relying on the spiritual array. The reason why Ningyu wanted to fight a 7th grade Earth Supreme was because he had already grasped the method to enter the 9th level of the Transcendence Pagoda. Even if he couldn't fight a 7th grade Earth Supreme, he could still enter the 9th level at any time. Since his life wasn't in danger, he might as well spar with a 7th grade Earth Supreme. Let's make this clear. If you lose, we'll have to hide in our spatial rings. The sapling and the law of space said at the same time, clearly not trusting Ningyu. No problem. Ningyu nodded. Crack. Suddenly, the space in the 8th level of the Transcendence Pagoda split open and a figure slowly appeared before Ningyu. The figure wasn't very tall, and in fact, it was very short. Despite his short stature, his cultivation and soul force weren't low. An initial 7th grade Earth Supreme and a pinnacle 8th grade Earth Supreme. With this configuration, he could probably kill a late 7th grade Earth Supreme when he was still an initial 7th grade Earth Supreme. A 7th grade Earth Supreme? When he saw Ningyu, the 7th grade Earth Sovereign of the God Emperor Palace rubbed his eyes in disbelief. In the view of that 7th grade Earth Sovereign, someone that could kill so many Earth Sovereigns of the Divine Emperor Palace would at least be a 7th grade Earth Sovereign. He didn't expect his opponent to only be a 7th grade human supreme martial artist. The short 7th grade Earth Sovereign from the Divine Emperor Palace was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. If the other party was a 7th grade Earth Sovereign or a 6th grade Earth Sovereign, the 7th grade Earth Sovereign wouldn't be surprised. Right now, the other party was only a 7th grade human supreme being. What the hell was going on? State your name. I don't kill nameless people. Ningyu stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Hehe, you actually asked for my name? The shorter 7th grade Earth Sovereign smiled and pointed at his nose. Listen up, I'm Di Ling. Oh no. Before Di Ling finished his sentence, Ningyu controlled the Great Formation and shot out a beam of cold light towards him. You don't play by the rules. Di Ling shouted and hurriedly tried to block it. The cold light could instantly kill a 5th grade Earth Sovereign and severely injure a 6th grade Earth Sovereign. Although Di Ling was a 7th grade Earth Sovereign, he didn't dare to underestimate him. Why should I play by the rules? Ningyu sneered. Do you think I'm stupid to stand here and wait for you? I'm really stupid and naive. After that, Ningyu bellowed, sapling, law of space, attack him from the left and right. I'll control the Great Formation and restrain him from the front. Roger. The law of space and the sapling made up their minds when they saw Di Ling's flustered expression. They knew how to deal with this kind of warrior. Even if you're a 7th grade Earth Sovereign, as long as you're stupid, we have a way to kill you. Get lost. However, the sapling and the law of space had obviously underestimated Di Ling. Di Ling only panicked at the beginning, but he quickly reacted and waved his hands to block the cold light shot out by Ningyu. At the same time, he fought with the law of space and the law of space. Bang! Bang! Di Ling's attack speed was very fast. In almost an instant, it hit the sapling and the law of space. Neither of them was spared, and they were both sent flying back a few feet. Let's go. The sapling and the law of space were rational. They knew that even if they continued to fight, they wouldn't be Di Ling's opponent. Hence, they immediately tore open a spatial rift and hid in the storage ring on Ningyu's wrist. F***CK. The movements of the sapling and the law of space made Ningyu unable to help cursing. It's not a problem for you to enter the interspatial ring, but you should at least inform me first, right? Now that you've entered the interspatial ring, I'm the only opponent left for Di Ling. How am I going to fight him? Di Ling, I'll let you have a taste of real power, Ningyu shouted in a low voice. Then, he waved both of his hands. In a split second, numerous cold lights flew out and attacked Di Ling from all directions. Not only were there many cold lights, but they were also very fast. Not long after, Di Ling was trapped in the cold light formation. You want to kill me with these things? The corner of Di Ling's mouth curled up. He opened his mouth wide and roared. Ah! A loud roar came from Di Ling's mouth and spread in all directions. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Every cold light that came into contact with the shockwave of the roar shattered and dissipated. How are you going to fight me? Di Ling took a step forward and arrived in front of Ningyu. If you know what's good for you, hand over the control of the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson. Di Ling threatened Ningyu. He threatened Ningyu to hand over the control of the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan. Moreover, Di Ling had already started to dream. If he could control the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan, he would most likely become the next palace leader when he returned to God Emperor Palace. Once he became the palace leader's successor, he would receive a vast amount of resources. Di Ling was dreaming of becoming the successor. He would be able to look down on Dancheng mainland and Sky Demon area. I'm sorry. I'm good looking. I don't need your help. Ningyu stood on the spot and crossed his arms in front of his chest. You're about to die and you're still so stubborn. I'll teach you a lesson. Di Ling came back to his senses and said emotionlessly. Di Ling clenched his right fist and punched at Ningyu. Pa! The air parted where the fist passed. Ningyu did not dodge and was hit in the chest by Di Ling. Di Ling was stunned. Because his fist directly passed through Ningyu's chest, and there was no obstruction at all. An after-image? Di Ling finally realized what had happened. Ningyu was stalling for time. His goal was to enter the 9th level of the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan, not to fight him. Di Ling regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. I'll be waiting for you on the 9th level of the Tower of the Supremacy of Yuzuan. I hope you'll be able to complete the test on this level. Although Ningyu had reached the 9th level, his words made Di Ling vomit blood. Just you wait. In less than a minute, I'll break through this level and reach the 9th level. Chapter 1385. Chapter 1385. Chapter 1385. 3 eyes array on the 9th floor of the Ascension Tower. Swish swish swish. As soon as Ningyu landed, several piercingly cold lights attacked him. The main function of the Ascension Pagoda's 8th level's Grand Array was to nurture one's soul force, and its auxiliary function was to kill enemies. During his time on the 8th floor of the Transcendence Pagoda, Ningyu had not only used the formation to kill many geniuses from the Emperor Palace, but he had also cultivated his soul force to the peak of Grade 8. 7th grade Initial Human Supreme Being and 8th grade Peak Soul Force. With Ningyu's current strength, he could contend with a pinnacle 1st grade Earth Sovereign. Putting these aside, Ningyu was now facing an unprecedented crisis. Although the Grand Array of the Ascension Pagoda's 9th level was obtained by him in his previous life, he was still able to enter it. However, he did not have a good way to control the formation. This was because the 9th level of the Tower of Yuzuan was extremely difficult to control. It required a strong soul force and terrifying energy. Ningyu's soul force had reached the standard of peak rank 8, but his primordial chi was insufficient. I have to think of a way to kill Emperor Ling. Ningyu's eyes turned as he quickly thought of a countermeasure. As long as he could kill Emperor Ling, Ningyu could use Emperor Ling's primordial chi to completely control this level's formation. Sapling, spatial laws, hurry up and come out. Ningyu said while dodging the attacks of the cold light. Swoosh. The saplings were also very cooperative with the laws of space, and they appeared from the storage ring as soon as Ningyu called out to them. Ningyu, are you sure you have no enmity with us? The sapling and the law of space were furious. As soon as they came out, they were besieged by the cold light, which made them very injured. What kind of grudge is there? Listen to me, this formation has 3 formation cores. Ningyu didn't bother to talk nonsense with the sapling and said directly, one of the formation eyes is a living eye, one is a dead eye, and the other is a living eye. The 3 of us will each enter a formation core, then think of a way to find the living eye and the living eye. As he spoke, Ningyu kicked the sapling and the law of space, sending them flying in 2 different directions. At the end of where the sapling and the law of space had flown, there was a formation eye. As for Ningyu, he flew in another direction. There were 3 formation cores, 1 for each of them, no more, no less. Rumble. Before Ningyu could enter the core of the array, The sapling in the distance was wrapped in a golden light, and its entire body disappeared. What good luck, it's actually a new eye. Ningyu nodded slightly, feeling happy for the sapling. Once they entered the Eye of Life, it meant that their lives would not be in danger for a short period of time, and they would be protected by the formation. Boom! At this moment, the law of space was also enveloped by a ray of light. F***CK. The changes in the law of space left Ningyu completely dumbfounded. The law of space entered the living eye, so there was no danger to his life. In the end, he wanted to go to the death eye, which was the most dangerous. Block for me. Ningyu did not feel depressed, because this was what he wanted to see the most. Whether it was the law of space or the sapling, once they fell into the death eye, their chances of survival were less than 50%, but he had a 60% chance. Don't underestimate this 10% chance of survival. In the 9th level of the Transcendence Pagoda, every additional level's chance of survival was fatal. Yuan Qi rushed out of his sea of consciousness, forming a Yuan Qi light pillar around Ningyu. Kai. However, this Yuan Qi light pillar did not have much of an effect, as it was directly devoured by the devouring power of the death eye. The living eye was safe, the living eye was unpredictable, and the death eye was terrifying. This was the Transcendence Pagoda's 9th level's grand formation, the Three Eyes Grand Formation. As long as one was unfortunate enough to fall into the death eye, it would be very difficult to survive. Block again. The Yuan Qi protective cover shattered, and Ningyu used his soul power to protect his body. Soul power was obviously more useful than Yuan Qi. The devouring power of the death eye did not devour the soul power immediately, but left a lot for Ningyu. Crack. Suddenly, something happened. The space of the 9th level of the Transcendence Pagoda suddenly split open, and Emperor Ling gradually appeared. Where are you going? After Emperor Ling appeared, he immediately saw Ningyu. After all, the sapling and the law of space were wrapped up in the golden light, and disappeared. Emperor Ling's attention was naturally on Ningyu. Emperor Ling did not notice the grand formation, and he mistakenly thought that Ningyu wanted to enter the 10th level, so he did not think too much, and directly rushed towards Ningyu. Good timing. Seeing that Emperor Ling was about to rush to his side, Ningyu was overjoyed. When he was sleepy, someone sent him a pillow, and when he was hungry, someone sent him food. Emperor Ling had really come at the right time. If Emperor Ling had been one step later, Ningyu would have had to burn his blood to resist the devouring power of the death eye. Now that Emperor Ling had appeared, Ningyu pretended to be panicking, and he even started coughing out blood. P2E. After coughing out blood, Ningyu's face became slightly pale. Die. Emperor Ling did not care about the consequences, and directly attacked Ningyu. Whoosh. However, Emperor Ling's attack completely detonated the death eye. The extremely terrifying devouring power swallowed Emperor Ling's attack. Moreover, the devouring power did not dissipate. Even the devouring power that was swallowing Ningyu temporarily gave up on Ningyu, and rushed towards Emperor Ling. What the hell is this? Emperor Ling was shocked. At that moment, he finally realized that he had been tricked. Ningyu could still smile at him. It was obvious that Ningyu's evil plan had succeeded. This is the Three Eyes Formation. The place where you are is where the death eye is. Ningyu reminded him kindly. Hearing Ningyu's body size, Emperor Ling almost coughed out blood. Three Eyes Formation, death eye? What the hell is this? Emperor Ling did not know what the Three Eyes Formation was. He only knew that he was going to face the terrifying devouring power. If he did not do anything, he would probably be killed. I don't care what you want to do. In short, you will not be able to escape today, Emperor Ling said coldly. You are about to die, and you still dare to act like this. You better pray for yourself. Ningyu pouted. He then sat down cross-legged and started to activate his technique. In his previous life, Ningyu had controlled the Three Eyes Formation before. He knew how to control it. He muttered a spell and forced out a drop of blood. Then, he waved his hands continuously. With this devouring power, there is no way I can. Puff. Just as Emperor Ling wanted to brag, he realized that the devouring power had increased again. It swallowed all the energy around him. Puff, puff, puff. Then, Emperor Ling coughed out blood. He copied Ningyu and sat down cross-legged. However, the death eye of the three eyes formation was special. As long as there were two people in the formation eye, it would attack the one with a higher cultivation level. As for the one with a lower cultivation level, he would definitely be the last. Ningyu had used this method to decide to take the risk out of desperation and take a gamble. If he succeeded, he could kill Emperor Ling. He could even control the three eyes formation. If he failed, he would die. Chapter 1386. Chapter 1386. Chapter 1386. Chapter 1386. Control formation Fut. Di Ling, who was in the eye of the three eyes formation, turned pale and spat out a mouthful of blood again. Damn it! In order to fight against the devouring power of the eye, Di Ling continuously consumed the primordial energy in his sea of consciousness. However, the devouring power came in waves. It was endless and it was extremely terrifying. In a few minutes, the primordial energy in Di Ling's sea of consciousness had been consumed by half and it was still being consumed. At this rate, Di Ling would only need 3 minutes at most before his primordial energy would be exhausted and he would not be able to fight against the terrifying devouring power. I have to think of a way. Di Ling knew his own situation very well. He looked at Ningyu, who was not far away. He rolled his eyes and quickly thought of a solution. Go. Suddenly, Di Ling clenched his right fist and punched. Swoosh. A soul power came out of Di Ling's body and attacked Ningyu at a terrifying speed. This soul power was extremely powerful and it even dodged the terrifying devouring power of the eye. Go. Ningyu didn't panic as he looked at the approaching soul force. He raised his right hand slightly and barked in a low voice. Along with Ningyu's low shout, the dead eye suddenly became violent. Under normal circumstances, the devouring power of the eye was extremely terrifying, let alone when it was in a violent state. Fut fut. When Di Ling's soul power reached Ningyu, it was met with a strong devouring power. The devouring power did not give Di Ling's soul power any chance to fight back. It completely devoured it. Fut. After his soul power was devoured, Di Ling spat out a mouthful of blood again. His already pale face became even paler. The moment Di Ling dies is the moment I control the three eyes formation. Ningyu took a deep breath and forced out a few drops of blood. At the same time, he kept making hand signs and his speed became faster and faster. Rumble. Every time Ningyu made a hand sign, the three eyes great formation would shake a little and Di Ling's injuries would become more serious. I will definitely grind your bones to dust. Di Ling roared. He unleashed all kinds of techniques and trump cards in an attempt to break free from the deadly eye's control. Di Ling no longer wanted to kill Ningyu. Although Di Ling was roaring on the surface, he wanted to break free from the deadly eye and leave as soon as possible. Ningyu completely ignored Di Ling's roar. Now was the crucial time to control the three eyes array. As long as he could control the death eye, Ningyu would have complete control over the three eyes array. As for Di Ling, no matter how much he roared, he would eventually die under the terrifying devouring power. Poochie. At first, Di Ling was still roaring. He wanted to kill Ningyu. But as time passed, he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and immediately changed his strategy. Ningyu, please spare me. As long as you spare me, I can give you anything. Di Ling shouted and began to beg for mercy. Oh, you can give me anything? Ningyu's heart jolted, and he said without batting an eyelid. Yes, I can give you anything, Di Ling said hurriedly as he saw that the situation was turning for the better. He was afraid that Ningyu would go back on his words. Emperor God Technique. Ningyu did not waste time talking to Di Ling. He uttered the 3 words softly. Emperor God Technique was comparable to the supreme 9 Heavens sword skill. Back when Di was chasing after Ningyu, Ningyu had obtained the cultivation method of the first 6 moves of Emperor God Technique from him. As for the 7th move, Ningyu knew that Di had given him the wrong move. Now that there was a chance to snatch the complete Emperor God Technique from Di Ling, Ningyu naturally would not waste it. I can give you the Emperor God Technique, but you have to swear to heaven that you will ensure my safety. Di Ling seemed to have made a big decision and said while clenching his teeth. You have no right to negotiate with me. Ningyu shook his head and said. All right. I can give you the cultivation method of the first 6 moves, Di Ling said in a deep voice. I'm sorry, I have mastered the first 6 moves of Emperor God technique. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and said, you have one last chance. Give me the last 6 moves of Emperor God technique and I will spare your life. Di Ling's face was gloomy. To be honest, Di Ling did not trust Ningyu. However, the current situation did not allow him to think too much. In another minute, he would be swallowed by the devouring power and he would die. What he needed now was time. Here. Clenching his fists, Di Ling waved his sleeves and threw a soul jade scroll to Ningyu. Pack. Ningyu caught the soul jade scroll firmly and sent out a part of his soul power to read it. As it was a soul jade scroll, Ningyu was able to read it very quickly. After 3 seconds, Ningyu retrieved his soul power and said indifferently, there are only the first 10 moves of Emperor God technique in here. What about the last 2 moves? Make this D*MN devouring power stop first, then I will tell you the last 2 moves. Di Ling clenched his teeth and said. Ningyu looked at Di Ling and shook his head slowly. He did not say anything. The next moment, the devouring power in the dead eye exploded again. The endless devouring power instantly swallowed Di Ling. Facing so much devouring power, Di Ling did not even have the time to scream. He died immediately. 3 eyes formation, dead eye, stop. Ningyu did not have time to care about Di Ling's life. He continuously forced out his blood and quickly made a hand sign with both of his hands. Every time Ningyu made a hand sign, a drop of blood would enter the dead eye. This situation lasted for about 3 minutes. When Ningyu's last drop of blood entered the dead eye, the devouring power that erupted from the dead eye completely disappeared. The disappearance of the devouring power meant that Ningyu had already gained control of the dead eye and the 3 eyes formation. Half. After letting out a long breath, Ningyu's face revealed a relieved expression. The 3 eyes formation was very powerful. As long as he could control it, even if a pinnacle grade 9 Earth Supreme entered the Tower of Yuzuan, Ningyu would be able to fight them. Of course, Ningyu's goal was not to stay on the 9th floor. His main goal was to enter the 10th floor. This was just a transit point. Crack. At the same time, outside the Tower of Yuzuan, beside Di Wuba, the long-haired woman's eyes widened. Her face was filled with disbelief. The last soul jade token in her hand had completely shattered 3 minutes ago. She stared at the soul jade token in her hand and was stunned on the spot. She was speechless for a long time. The last soul jade token belonged to Di Ling. Di Ling was a grade 7 Earth Supreme with a pinnacle grade 8 soul force. Even if he encountered a late grade 7 Earth Supreme, or even an early grade 8 Earth Supreme, Di Ling would be able to fight them. Why did he die in the Tower of Yuzuan? After 3 seconds of silence, Di Wuba let out a deafening roar towards the sky. Shame. This time, they were the vanguard because the palace master of Emperor Palace trusted them. Who would have thought that the entire team would either die or be injured? Rumble. Suddenly, Di Wuba's expression changed. Chapter 1387. Look, who's that? Experts from the Emperor Palace. Look, who's that? The weakest is a 5th grade Earth Supreme, and the strongest is a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Supreme. That's a half-step Heavenly Supreme? All the cultivators in Starcloud City were attracted by the cultivators in the sky above Nebula Academy. Everyone knew who Di Wuba was when he entered Nebula Academy. Originally, the people of Starcloud City thought that Di Wuba was the person in charge of Emperor God Palace. Now, it seemed that they were wrong, and very wrong. In order to destroy Nebula Academy, the Emperor Palace had even sent a half-step Heavenly Supreme. As for Di Wuba, he was a quasi-heavenly sovereign. Aside from a few people, no one knew about him. Until now, everyone thought that Di Wuba was just a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Supreme. Even Master Xingyun couldn't tell that Di Wuba was a half-step Heavenly Supreme. I know. That half-step Heavenly Supreme is called Di Xingtian. He's an antique from the Emperor Palace. A cultivator in Starcloud City said in a deep voice. Who's the old man next to Di Xingtian? Is he Master Tian? As this figure rang out, everyone's gazes shifted from Di Xingtian to the old man. The old man's body was perfectly integrated with the void. No one would notice him if they didn't look carefully. Tian Mingdao, a 9th grade pinnacle alchemist's attainments in alchemy, had reached the stage of liquefying gas. Master Xingyun could liquefying energy into pills, and Tian Mingdao was only one level lower than him. Haha, Master Xingyun, we've come all the way here. Is this how you welcome us? Tian Mingdao stared at Master Xingyun with his hands behind his back. Open the soul chain array and let us in. You, Master Xingyun stared at Tian Mingdao and said hesitantly. Have you lost your mind? Crack. Tian Mingdao's face instantly turned cold when he heard Master Xingyun's words. Tian Mingdao clenched his fists and said fiercely, Don't be so shameless. Master Xingyun, I'll be honest with you. We've already found 4 of the 6 groups of genius disciples that were teleported out of Nebula Academy. As long as I give the order, they'll die. Boom. At this moment, Master Xingyun's soul power soared into the sky. Buzz buzz buzz. Master Xingyun's soul power collided with the soul chain in the air, producing a buzzing sound. Master Xingyun was furious. Apart from Grandmaster Xingyun, all the mentors, elders, and even Yao Qiong were furious. It didn't matter if they died, as long as the genius disciples of Nebula Academy could live in peace. If those genius disciples were to die, it would be meaningless even if they died in battle. That's right. With the strength of your soul force and the soul chain array, you can indeed stop me. Tian Mingdao's reaction was out of everyone's expectations. He nodded, but suddenly changed the topic. However, you can stop me, but what if they join in? Catcher, catcher. On the other side, the void cracked again. 2 groups of experts slowly walked out from the void. Jin family. Looking at the experts on the far left, Grandmaster Xingyun furrowed his brows and his face darkened. The reason why Master Xingyun had such a reaction was not because all the experts of the Jin family had appeared, but because someone from the Jin family had come, who even he was a little afraid of. Jin Yi. Just like Tian Mingdao, Jin Yi was also a pinnacle 9th grade alchemist. However, Jin Yi had already reached the realm of liquefying 30 years ago. Her attainments in the alchemy Dao were stronger than Tian Mingdao's. Overwhelming pill demon. In front of the 3rd group, there was also an old man floating. That old man was called Overwhelming Pill Demon. His attainments in the alchemy Dao weren't any weaker than Jin Yi. If it was just Tian Mingdao alone, Grandmaster Xingyun wouldn't be afraid. But adding in Jin Yi, Overwhelming Pill Devil and the others, the situation will become confusing. If the 3 of them joined forces, there was a high chance that they could break the soul chain formation. If Di Xingtian of the Emperor Palace, Jin Xiong of the Jin family, and many other Earth sovereigns were added, they would definitely be able to break the soul chain array. Ha ha ha, Grandmaster Xingyun, you're still as elegant as ever after so many years. Jin Yi seemed to know Grandmaster Xingyun. She laughed and said, Today, an old friend is here. Shouldn't you take the initiative to break the array? Why are you talking to him? Let's make a move together and break the array. The overwhelming pill demon's gaze was cold as he spoke. In the Nebula Academy, Grandmaster Xingyun briefly pondered before he waved his sleeve. Sizzle. A gap suddenly appeared in the soul chain array. Grandmaster Xingyun pointed at the gap. The 3 of you can come in. Let's go. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Seeing the gap, Jin Yi and the rest did not hesitate and immediately charged in. The 3 of them swiftly arrived before the Ascension Pagoda in the Nebula Academy in the blink of an eye. Shortly after, a 5th grade Earth sovereign of the Jin clan also tore through space, intending to enter through the gap. However, that 5th grade Earth sovereign had underestimated the power of the soul chain array. The reason why Jin Yi and the rest could enter was due to their powerful soul forces. He wanted to enter, but he was still too tender. The body of that 5th grade Earth sovereign exploded, turning into a mist of blood that scattered in the sky. What do you mean? Jin Yi's face was unsightly. At the same time, she felt regret. She regretted that she did not warn the Jin family, causing the Jin family to lose a 5th-grade Earth Sovereign. Nothing. Grandmaster Xing Yun's expression was calm as he continued, I know what you guys want, and I can tell you that it's in the Ascension Pagoda. Rumble. Hearing Grandmaster Xing Yun's words, the faces of Jin Yi and the rest heated up. Evidently, the thing that Grandmaster Xing Yun spoke of was enough to make them go crazy. Isn't this a little simple? Tian Mingdao had a suspicious nature. Although he also wanted to enter the Ascension Pagoda, he still hesitated. The Ascension Pagoda is such a mysterious place. Even if the 3 of us join forces, we might not be able to obtain any benefits. What are you afraid of? The overwhelming pill demon did not hesitate. He took a step forth and turned into an afterimage as he entered the Ascension Pagoda. Seeing the expansive pill demon's actions, Jin Yi hesitated for a moment before her figure flickered and entered the Tower of Ascension. Grandmaster Xing Yun, you also want to enter the Ascension Pagoda? Tian Mingdao was a little worried in his heart as he coldly said, otherwise, I will flatten the Nebula Academy. You should know that I'm capable. Tian Mingdao did not forget to give Grandmaster Xing Yun a warning. I know that you're capable. Grandmaster Xing Yun did not refuse. He pointed at Di Wuba and said, aside from the students of the Nebula Academy, everyone else has to enter the Ascension Pagoda, including them. I've been waiting. Di Wuba had long wanted to enter the Ascension Pagoda. Now that he had such a good opportunity, he naturally would not waste it. Furthermore, Di Wuba felt that Tian Mingdao was a little different. It was as if Tian Mingdao had some unspeakable secret. Chapter 1388. Attack. Rustle. Di Wuba's silhouette flickered as he charged into the Tower of Ascension. Behind Di Wuba, the long-haired woman and the one-eyed 8th-grade Earth Sovereign followed closely. Di He and Di Bai initially didn't want to enter the Tower of Ascension. After all, they had yet to recover to their peak state. But since Master Xing Yun strongly requested, they had no choice but to follow Di Wuba into the Tower of Ascension. Master Xing Yun, I want to go in as well. Seeing that the experts of the Emperor Palace had entered the Tower of Ascension, Quang Zhon immediately stood up and yelled. No need. You guys stay here and control the Soul Chains array. Grandmaster Xing Yun said calmly, when I'm not here, you must ensure that the Soul Shackles formation remains intact. No matter what, you must not let it be broken. How could Master Xing Yun not know that Quang Zhon was doing this for his own good? But the Soul Chains array required an expert to oversee it. Otherwise, it would be broken very quickly. Master Xing Yun knew that the moment he entered the Tower of Ascension, the Emperor Palace, the Jin clan, and the Wandering Cultivators would definitely do their best to break the Soul Chains array. With Quang Zhon overseeing it, Master Xing Yun could enter the Tower of Ascension without worry. All right. Quang Zhon wasn't someone who couldn't adapt to the situation. He nodded his head. As long as I'm around, the Soul Chains array will not be broken. That's all I need to hear. Master Xing Yun was satisfied with Quang Zhon's words. When they entered the Tower of Ascension, Master Xing Yun looked at Yarrow Cheung with an apologetic expression. Then, Grandmaster Xing Yun leaped up and entered the Tower of Yuzu in the blink of an eye. Attack. Tian Mingdao was the last to enter the Tower of Ascension. But before he entered, Tian Mingdao raised his head and yelled. Rustle. Following Tian Mingdao's words, many experts from Emperor Divine Palace began to attack frantically above Nebula Academy. Whoosh. Whoosh. Countless spells interweaved above the Soul Chains array, causing the array to constantly tremble. What should we do? A 9th-grade Earth Sovereign of the Jin clan hesitated when he saw the experts of the Emperor Palace attacking the spiritual chain array. Let's wait. Jin Xiong was the leader of the Jin clan this time. He slowly shook his head and said. Jin Xiong's mistake in the Emptiness Realm had caused the Jin family to lose many experts. In addition to Jin Liefei and the others who had been sent into the Void Secret Realm, the Jin family had lost half of their top forces. The Jin family couldn't afford any more losses. In other words, without absolute confidence, Jin Xiong would never issue an order. If Jin Xiong and the rest did not participate in the attack, they would not be able to break the Soul Chain formation with just the experts from Emperor Divine Palace. However, for some reason, even though they knew that they could not break the soul chain formation, the experts of Emperor Divine Palace still attacked tirelessly, not caring about the consumption of their primordial chi and soul power. I wonder how long Nebula Academy can last. That's right. Grandmaster Xingyun is the soul of our Star Cloud City. We can't let anything happen to him. Can't let anything happen to him? Don't tell me you haven't noticed. Everyone in Star Cloud City with a reputation is watching. Watching what? Isn't it obvious? As long as Grandmaster Xingyun can successfully leave the Tower of Ascension, they will attack together and stand on Nebula Academy's side. But if Grandmaster Xingyun can't leave the Tower of Ascension, it means that Nebula Academy will be completely erased from today onwards. At this moment, the experts of Star Cloud City fell silent. Without Grandmaster Xingyun, there would be no Star Cloud City and no Nebula Academy. In general, most of the people of Star Cloud City were grateful to Grandmaster Xingyun. But in the current situation, everyone was watching. No one wanted to be the first to stand against Emperor God Palace and Jin family. Swish swish swish. At the same time, on the first floor of the Tower of Ascension. At this time, many experts had already gathered on the first floor of the Tower of Ascension. Among them, Tian Mingdao, Jin Yi, and Overwhelming Pill Devil were walking around. Moreover, they released their soul force, carefully probing around. Di Wubar and the rest stood on the spot, focusing all their attention on Grandmaster Xingyun. After entering the Tower of Ascension, Tian Mingdao gave them a mission, which was to watch Grandmaster Xingyun and not let him play any tricks. Di Wubar was trying his best. His eyes were fixed on Master Xingyun, and he did not look away from him at all. This floor is a little strange. There should be a way to enter the second floor in advance. After observing for a while, Tian Mingdao expressed his opinion. The few of them had tried to enter the Tower of Ascension before, and they knew that the first 3 floors did not require any action. As long as they waited, they could pass through. But as peak grade 9 pill masters, they naturally noticed that something was amiss. For a terrifying tower like the Tower of Ascension, there was no reason for the first 3 floors to be ordinary. Let me try. Jin Yi took a step forward and stomped her right foot on the ground. Rumble. When Jin Yi stomped her foot, the entire first floor of the Tower of Ascension began to shake violently. Then, many black figures tore through the void and came out. Destroy them. Jin Yi pointed at the black figures and said solemnly. Damn it. Di Wubar grumbled inwardly, then quickly dashed out. Grandmaster Xingyun's eyebrows revealed a hint of seriousness. It was not difficult to discover the uniqueness of the first 3 floors of the Tower of Ascension. The difficult part was to find a way to break through. Jin Yi was indeed capable. Grandmaster Xingyun secretly became cautious. Catcher. Following this method, Jin Yi and the rest broke through the defenses of the first 3 floors and successfully reached the 3rd floor of the Tower of Ascension. From the 4th floor onwards, we will be randomly teleported to different spaces and undergo different tests. Everyone, we will meet on the 8th floor of the Tower of Ascension. Jin Yi did not hesitate. As soon as she entered the 3rd floor of the Tower of Ascension, she left behind these harsh words and entered the 4th floor. Ha ha ha, the Tower of Ascension and that thing are destined to belong to me. The second to enter the 4th floor was Overwhelming Pill Demon. He laughed and disappeared into the 4th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda. Di Wubar, you guys stay here and watch Grandmaster Xingyun. Remember, before we return, do not let him step into the 4th floor. Tian Mingdao did not immediately enter the 4th floor. He ordered, if we do not return in 3 hours, you will leave the Tower of Ascension with Grandmaster Xingyun. No wonder Tian Mingdao was so serious. The Tower of Ascension was Grandmaster Xingyun's magic treasure. Although Grandmaster Xingyun did not fully understand it, it was still stronger than them. Tian Mingdao did not have the guts to let Grandmaster Xingyun enter the 4th floor of the Tower of Ascension. If he let the tiger return to the mountain, there would be endless troubles in the future. Don't worry, we promise. Di Wubar patted his chest. Kai Kai. However, before Di Wubar finished speaking, Grandmaster Xingyun's body gradually turned into nothingness and fused with the void. I will wait for you in the 8th floor of the Tower of Ascension. Chapter 1389. Chapter 1389, Scatter. Not good, quick, stop him. Tian Mingtao's face drastically changed when he saw Master Xingyun fusing with the void. Whoosh, whoosh. Not only did Tian Mingtao's face drastically change, but even Di Wuba's face was drained of blood. Without saying a word, he immediately charged out with Di He and Di Bai to stop Master Xingyun. However, it was already too late for Di Wuba and the rest to stop Master Xingyun. Master Xingyun's figure disappeared and the void soon returned to its calm state. At this moment, the third level of the Tower of Ascension became extremely quiet. It was so quiet that not even breathing could be heard. Di Wuba and the other experts of the Emperor Palace held their breaths and didn't dare to speak. Master Xingyun's successful escape was definitely related to them. After all, Tian Mingdao had already told them to keep an eye on Master Xingyun. Now that there was such a huge mistake, they couldn't escape the blame. It's fine, it's not your fault. Master Xingyun is too cunning. Tian Mingdao waved his hand and said, "You have two choices now. First, enter the fourth level of the Tower of Yuzuan and continue upwards. Second, leave the Tower of Ascension and take control of the Nebula Academy." Hearing Tian Mingtao's words, Di Wuba's face was dark and his mind was rapidly spinning. Both choices had their pros and cons. Staying in the Tower of Ascension would put them in a passive position and be killed by Master Xingyun. However, staying in the Tower of Ascension would also increase their chances. That old fox Master Xingyun must have left all his treasures and elixirs in the Tower of Ascension. Leaving the Tower of Ascension would allow them to easily take control of the Nebula Academy and even dominate the Academy, but the chances of obtaining treasures and elixirs would be much lower. I choose to stay in the Tower of Ascension. After a brief pondering, Di Wuba said, "The greater the chance, the greater the danger." Good, I believe that the Palace Master of the Emperor Palace has high hopes for you. Tian Mingdao nodded his head and entered the fourth level of the Tower of Ascension. Let's go. Di Wuba followed behind Tian Mingdao and entered the fourth level of the Tower of Ascension. As for the remaining long-haired woman, the one-eyed 8th grade Earth Sovereign, Di He, and Di Bai, they followed beside Di Wuba. However, from the fourth level of the Ascension Pagoda onwards, all the martial artists that entered would be sent to different spaces. The long-haired woman and the rest were destined to be disappointed. Ningyu, how did you manage to control the Three Eyes formation so easily? At the same time, on the 9th floor of the Transcendence Tower, the sapling and the Law of Space floated in front of Ningyu. They looked around and said, "Where's the 7th grade Earth Sovereign from the Emperor Palace? Didn't you say that he's going to enter this level? He's already a thing of the past. What you should be concerned about now are the peak 9th level alchemists." Ningyu's expression was dignified as he said in a low voice, "Peak 9th grade alchemist?" The sapling and the Law of Space were dumbfounded. Why were the people from the Emperor Divine Palace like locusts? After one batch died, another batch would come. The first few batches were all low-rank Earth Sovereigns with the highest cultivation at the 7th grade Earth Sovereign realm. But now, even a peak 9th grade alchemist was here. Was a peak 9th grade Earth Sovereign or a half-step Heavenly Sovereign still far away? Not far. One of the cultivators that entered the Tower of Ascension is a half-step Heavenly Sovereign. As if he could hear the thoughts of the sapling and the Law of Space, Ningyu faintly said, "Our mission is to use the Three Eyes formation to snipe those peak 9th grade alchemists. I'm fine with you sniping those peak 9th grade alchemists, but I have to remind you, what about those peak 9th grade Earth Sovereigns and half-step Heavenly Sovereigns?" The sapling was like a wise man that could see further into the future. "Don't worry. Since I'm in control of the Three Eyes formation, it means that I have a way to deal with them." Ningyu waved his hand, signaling the sapling and the Law of Space not to worry. Whoosh. In order to dispel their worries, Ningyu waved his wrist. In an instant, a terrifying devouring force shot out from the eye and charged towards the one-eyed 8th grade Earth Sovereign on the 4th level. The one-eyed 8th grade Earth Sovereign was originally a peak 8th grade Earth Sovereign, only a step away from the 9th grade Earth Sovereign realm. Who would have thought that something unexpected would happen? During the encirclement of demonic beasts, the one-eyed 8th grade Earth Sovereign had his right eye pierced by a demonic beast, turning him into a one-eyed man. After turning into a one-eyed man, he instantly lost the chance to advance to the 9th grade Earth Sovereign realm. If he didn't encounter any special opportunities, he might remain a peak 8th grade Earth Sovereign for the rest of his life. So when he heard that they were going to encircle the Nebula Academy, he was the first to sign up. Damn it, I wonder where that trash, Nebula, is. You better not let me find you, or I'll skin you alive and pull out your tendons. The one-eyed man cursed inwardly and began to think of a way to pass the test. The test on the 4th level wasn't too difficult for the one-eyed man, but he needed enough time. If he didn't have enough time, he wouldn't be able to do anything. I heard that you're going to skin me alive and pull out my tendons. Suddenly, the space in front of the one-eyed man split open, and Master Nebula slowly appeared before him. Master Nebula's tone was calm, as if he was talking about something extremely ordinary. You're just a 7th grade Earth Sovereign, why should I be afraid of you? The one-eyed man forced himself to calm down and said proudly. Indeed, in terms of cultivation, Master Nebula couldn't be compared to the one-eyed man. One was a peak 8th grade Earth Sovereign, while the other was a 7th grade Earth Sovereign. The gap between them should be bigger than the sky, and Master Nebula shouldn't even have a chance to fight back. But the situation was the other way around. With Master Nebula's 7th grade Earth Sovereign cultivation, the peak 7th grade Earth Sovereign didn't dare to move an inch forward. I'll give you a chance to turn over a new leaf, Master Nebula said faintly, without any emotions in his tone. You want me to turn over a new leaf? The corner of the one-eyed man's mouth twitched. Phut! You don't have the strength to kill me. The one-eyed man was fearless. He didn't believe that Master Nebula had the courage to do so. If Master Nebula wanted to kill them, he would have done it outside the Tower of Ascension. Phut! However, the one-eyed man clearly didn't understand Master Nebula. This was the Tower of Ascension. Even if Master Nebula killed the one-eyed man, the Emperor Palace wouldn't dare to do anything to him. In other words, aside from Ning Yu, who had reached the 9th level, he was the strongest in the Tower of Ascension. Clenching his right fist, Master Nebula charged forward and punched the one-eyed man's head. Crack! Master Nebula's punch didn't hold back. He did not hold back at all, and it contained a terrifying fluctuation of essence chi. Block it! Facing Master Nebula's punch, the one-eyed man casually threw out a punch to block Master Nebula's attack. Ah! It turned out that Master Nebula was still as good as ever. Chapter 1390. Crack. Just as One-Eyed screamed, the space in front of him cracked again. This time, it wasn't a cultivator, but a terrifying devouring power. Obviously, the only remaining pupil in the eye rapidly shrank, revealing a horrified expression. However, no matter how he screamed, he couldn't change his fate of being killed. At his peak, One Eye was still able to resist this terrifying devouring power. But now that he was heavily injured by Master Xingyun, he was less than a tenth of his peak strength. Ah! With a hysterical scream, One-Eye's body began to gradually shrivel up. Not long after, One-Eyed was reduced to a pile of flesh. He actually controlled the Three Eyes array. Even Master Xingyun was shocked by One-Eye's state. Master Xingyun was very clear that this sudden devouring power came from the dead eye in the Three Eyes formation. Now that the cultivator was on the 9th floor of the Tower of Transcendence, it was obvious that the Three Eyes array was under control. Let's go. Since the Three Eyes array was under control, Master Xingyun no longer had to worry. Next, Master Xingyun shuttled around the Tower of Transcendence, killing the long-haired woman, Di He, and Di Bai. As for Di Wuba, Master Xingyun didn't want to find trouble with him for the time being. After all, traveling around the Tower of Transcendence consumed a lot of Master Xingyun's energy. If it wasn't for the fact that his soul force had reached the level of liquid core, he wouldn't have been able to travel around, let alone kill One-Eyed and the rest. Whoosh! Master Xingyun stopped. Ning Yu, who was on the 9th floor of the Tower of Transcendence, heaved a sigh of relief. Ning Yu had expended a lot of energy in cooperating with Master Xingyun to kill the experts from Emperor God Palace. His cultivation was only at grade 7 Human Supreme. Even with the help of the Three Eyes array, he almost couldn't hold on. Master Xingyun can actually travel around the Tower of Transcendence at will. Ningyu sat cross-legged and muttered to himself as he recuperated. Although the Tower of Transcendence was Ningyu's artifact in his previous life, he only knew a little about it. Coincidentally, Ningyu knew how to move around the Tower of the Lord of Yu. One of the most basic conditions was that one's soul force had reached the core transformation stage and was infinitely close to breaking the core transformation stage. What kind of adventure did Master Xingyun have? How was it that in just a short span of 20 years, the strength of his soul force had soared from around the 7th or 8th stage to the level of liquefying into a pill? One must know that when Ningyu handed the Ascension Pagoda to Grandmaster Xingyun, his soul force was only at the pinnacle of grade 8. Ningyu, what do we do now? Do we think of a way to enter the 10th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda? Seeing that Ningyu was almost severely injured, the sapling said. Although the Three Eyes Grand Array was powerful, the cultivators who entered the Tower of Yuzuan this time were not weak. There were even 3 alchemists at the Qi to liquid stage. Although the Three Eyes Array could withstand the impact of a 9th grade Earth Sovereign, its effect was much weaker when facing an alchemist that had condensed Qi into liquid. When I recover to my peak state, I will immediately think of a way to enter the 10th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda. Ningyu naturally knew the severity of this matter, so he waved his hand. The two of you can enter the interspatial ring first. Leave the rest to me. That's what you said, we're not forcing you. The sapling and the Law of Space exchanged a glance before turning into 2 afterimages and entered the interspatial ring. When the sapling and the Law of Space disappeared, Ningyu's face turned even more grave. The 10th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda wasn't a place that anyone could enter. In his previous life, he only managed to break through the barrier when his soul force reached the core transformation stage and successfully entered the 10th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda. Unlike the previous 9 floors, the 10th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda was an excellent place for cultivation. Naturally, the reason why Ningyu wanted to enter the 10th floor was because Di Wuba and the rest had entered the Yuzuan Pagoda and wanted to harm him. Secondly, there were many treasures and elixirs on the 10th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda. It could be said that Ningyu had placed all his savings, all the savings of a heavenly sovereign and an alchemist that had broken through the core formation realm into the monarch realm, into the 10th level of the Yuzu Pagoda. The reason why Ningyu dared to place all his wealth in the 10th floor was because his soul force hadn't reached the core transformation stage, so there was no way for him to enter the 10th floor. I have to find a way to take away the three-eyed array. Ningyu's expression was grave. It wasn't impossible to take away the three-eyed array, but the price he would have to pay would be extremely high. In his previous life, Ningyu had only moved the three-eyed array to the 9th floor when he was in his peak state. Now that Ningyu was only a 7th grade sovereign, his soul force had only reached the pinnacle of the half-grade sovereign realm. It would be extremely difficult for him to take away the three-eyed array. Let's give it a try. After a while, Ningyu forced out 3 drops of blood essence and scattered them on the 3 cores of the three-eyed array. Life Eye, Dead Eye, Living Eye. There was a drop of Ningyu's blood essence in each of the 3 formation eyes of the Three Eyes formation. Immediately, Ningyu formed seals with both hands, wanting to start from the 3 cores. Fart. However, just as Ningyu formed seals, he felt a sweetness in his throat and vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. This won't work. Ningyu furrowed his brows and started to think of another plan. The key to the three-eyed array was the dead eye. As long as he could remove the dead eye from the three-eyed array, Ningyu would have a high chance of taking away the three-eyed array and blasting open the 10th floor's barrier. Others might need to reach the core-breaking Emperor stage, but Ningyu only needed to use the Three Eyes array to bombard the space on the 10th floor, and he would have a certain chance of entering the 10th floor. Remove it. Ningyu raised his head and roared. He then unleashed his pinnacle 8th grade soul force and started to remove the dead eye. Rumble. The dead eye was the key to the three-eyed array. No matter how hard Ningyu tried, he couldn't remove it. This won't do. Ningyu soon stopped. After thinking about it, Ningyu decided to take away the living eye and leave the dead eye. Actually, Ningyu couldn't take away the dead eye. He had tried everything and could only settle for the second best and take away the living eye. Strictly speaking, Ningyu wanted to take away the dead eye. After all, with the dead eye, Ningyu wouldn't be in such a sorry state if he encountered a high-level Earth sovereign in the future. But, compared to the dead eye, the living eye was much easier. There was no devouring power in the Eye of Life, so Ningyu successfully extracted it from the Three Eyes formation after working for a while. Crack. Just when Ningyu removed the living eye, the 9th floor of the Transcendence Pagoda suddenly cracked open. Thereafter, Tian Mingdao, Jinyi, the Boundless Pill Demon, and even Di Wuba appeared. Looking at those silhouettes, Ningyu's face instantly turned dark. He needed time to break through the 10th level of the Transcendence Tower. Chapter 1391. Chapter 1391. Chapter 1391. Help or not? It's you. On the 9th floor of the Ascension Tower, before Tian Mingdao and the rest could react, Di Wuba exclaimed in surprise. Di Wuba would never forget what happened in the Emptiness Secret Realm. That was an eternal pain in his heart. After leaving the Emptiness Secret Realm, Di Wuba had been investigating Ningyu's whereabouts. However, he couldn't find Ningyu no matter how hard he tried. Who would have thought that he would see Ningyu on the 9th floor of the Yuzuan Pagoda? This was really wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it without even looking for it. You won't be able to escape today, Di Wuba said coldly. His tone was filled with excitement. As long as he could find Ningyu, everything would become simple. After all, not only was Ningyu the person he was looking for, but he was also the person the Dark Gold Mystic Tiger was looking for. When the Dark Golden Profound Tiger left the Void Realm, its cultivation was only at the 6th grade Earth Supreme Realm. After recuperating in the Divine Emperor Palace, the Dark Golden Profound Tiger's strength had recovered to the pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign Realm. It was so much so that he was only half a step away from the Heavenly Supreme Realm. Speaking of which, the main reason why the Emperor Divine Palace chose to besiege Nebula Academy today was because of the Dark Golden Mystic Tiger. A Dark Gold Mystic Tiger at the pinnacle 9th grade Earth Supreme Realm could even kill a Heavenly Supreme. The Emperor Divine Palace had more powerful combat power, so they suddenly had more ideas. Dominate the Dan continent. The Emperor Divine Palace's plan to dominate the entire Dan continent began with the control of Nebula Academy. I can't escape even if I have wings. Ningyu pointed at his own nose and said disdainfully, I'm standing right here. If you want to kill me, you can come over. Ningyu was very afraid of Tian Mingdao and the other two peak 9th grade alchemists. However, Ningyu was not that afraid of Di Wuba. In any case, he was still in the 9th level of the Transcendence Tower and could still control the Three Eyes Array. It's hard for the Three-Eyed Array to pose a threat to a pinnacle 9th grade alchemist, especially one like Tian Mingdao. But it's extremely useful for a pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign. Why are you wasting your breath on him? Let me go kill him. Seeing that Di Wuba was wasting time here, the overwhelming Pill Demon stomped on the ground and rushed out. Wait. Before the overwhelming Pill Devil could even take a few steps forward, Jinyi and Tian Mingdao spoke in unison. In order to stop the overwhelming Pill Devil, Jinyi and Tian Mingdao released their soul force at the same time, blocking in front of the overwhelming Pill Devil. Catcher! Catcher! The overwhelming Pill Devil was shocked and hurriedly stopped. He opened his mouth and spat out two cold rays of light. The cold light and the soul power collided, and both of them disappeared from the world. You want to stop me? After one move, overwhelming Pill Devil's face instantly became cold. In terms of attainments in the Pill Dao, overwhelming Pill Devil was slightly stronger than Tian Mingdao and Jin Yi. However, 1 against 2, Aaron Pill Devil did not have the confidence to win. I'm not trying to stop you. Rather, I feel that I should leave that brat to Di Wuba. Tian Mingdao said calmly. Don't forget our mission. Jinyi said in a low voice, we'll be in charge of scouting this floor. As for that kid, leave him to Di Wuba. Jinyi also echoed. The reason why Jinyi and Tian Mingdao stood on Di Wuba's side was because Di Wuba had secretly transmitted his voice to them. Jinyi also knew a thing or two about what happened in the Void Secret Realm. Compared to Divine Emperor Palace, Jin Clan had suffered heavy losses. Fine, you guys win. Although he was unwilling, Iron Pill Demon still walked to the other side. It was not wise to clash with Tian Mingdao and the others here. Di Wuba, I'll leave Ningyu to you. Remember, you can only capture him alive, not kill him. Seeing that overwhelming pill devil had compromised, Tian Mingdao and Jinyi said in unison. No problem, leave it to me. Di Wuba patted his chest and said proudly, against a 7th-grade human sovereign, I can suppress him with a single hand. As he spoke, Di Wuba slowly moved towards Ningyu. Di Wuba's speed was not fast, it could even be said to be very slow. On the surface, Di Wuba looked down on Ningyu, but that was not the case. For Ningyu to be able to successfully reach the 9th level of the Ascension Tower and settle down here, it showed that he was indeed quite capable. Di Wuba did not want any unforeseen events to happen at this time. A little more. Looking at the approaching Di Wuba, Ningyu's eyes narrowed slightly as he murmured. Right now, Di Wuba was still a distance away from the Death Eye. As long as Di Wuba entered the Death Eye, Ningyu would activate the Three Eyes Array and let Di Wuba have a taste of the devouring power. Ningyu, if you surrender, I can spare your life and even let you become a guest elder of Divine Emperor Palace. Di Wuba started to use words to tempt Ningyu and numb Ningyu. If you want to kill me, then kill me. What's with all the nonsense? Ningyu took a step forward and said proudly, not putting Di Wuba in his eyes at all. You're courting death. Ningyu's actions completely infuriated Di Wuba. You're just a mere grade 7 human sovereign. How dare you act so arrogantly in front of me, a cultivator that's only a step away from the heavenly supreme realm? Although I can't kill you immediately, I can still teach you a lesson. I'll cripple your sea of consciousness first. Di Wuba waved his hands repeatedly, and in an instant, several fistlights shot out, all of them blasting towards Ningyu. Now's the time. Three Eyes Array, activate. Ningyu's eyes widened as he forced out a few drops of blood essence and roared. Huala. At this moment, the silent Three Eyes Array instantly exploded. Not good, it's the Three Eyes Array. Everyone, be careful. Look for the Living Eye and the Living Eye. Di Wuba was clearly very familiar with the Three Eyes Array. In fact, it could be said that he understood it very well. The moment he noticed that Ningyu had activated the Three Eyes Array, Di Wuba roared and tried to find the Living Eye. Sorry, they can find the Living Eye, but you're destined to die here. Ningyu's expression was indifferent as he said coldly, because you're in the Dead Eye. What? Di Wuba's expression was filled with fear. He even had the urge to curse. In the Three Eyes Array, the Dead Eye was the most terrifying. Even though he was only a step away from the heavenly supreme realm, his chances of survival were minuscule if he was trapped in the Dead Eye. Unless Tian Mingdao, Jinyi, and the others worked together to save him from the Dead Eye. He had just offended the overwhelming pill demon not long ago, so it was impossible for him to get the overwhelming pill demon to help him now. Overwhelming pill demon, help us. Even though he knew that it was impossible, Tian Mingdao still said, as long as you can save Di Wuba, we'll owe you a favor. Di Wuba was only a step away from the heavenly supreme realm. For a cultivator like him, with some nurturing and elixirs, he had a 50% chance of reaching the heavenly supreme realm. A soul stone. The overwhelming pill demon stretched out a finger and said, take out a soul stone, and I'll immediately go save Di Wuba. You're robbing us. Tian Mingtao's expression was extremely ugly. What was a soul stone? It was something that was necessary to advance to the heavenly supreme realm. Strictly speaking, exchanging a soul stone for Di Wuba's life was a profit for them. However, Tian Mingdao knew the importance of a soul stone to them. Chapter 1392. Di Wuba self-destructing. I don't know if it's a robbery or not, but I do know that the two of you wanted to attack me just now. The overwhelming pill demon crossed his arms and shrugged, saying indifferently, I'm not familiar with Di Wuba. His death has nothing to do with me. Damn it. Not only was Tian Mingtao's expression extremely ugly, even Jinyi's expression was extremely ugly. Master Tian, Senior Jin, you can't just watch him die. Seeing that Tian Mingdao and the others were hesitating, Di Wuba said anxiously while resisting the terrifying devouring power that shot out of the dead eye. Di Wuba's life depended on Tian Mingdao. If Tian Mingdao was willing to hand over the soul stone, he could live. If not, he would have to die. Wait a moment. Tian Mingdao did not answer Di Wuba immediately. Instead, he closed his eyes slightly as if he was asking for someone's opinion. Di Wuba waited anxiously, not daring to interrupt. A while later, Tian Mingdao opened his eyes and shook his head. I'm sorry, the Emperor God Palace is unwilling to hand over the soul stone. Poochie. Hearing Tian Mingdao's words, Di Wuba spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. He was in complete despair. Di Wuba knew what Tian Mingdao meant. Since someone was unwilling to hand over the soul stone, his fate was sealed. I can't accept this. Even if fate could not be changed, Di Wuba still raised his head and shouted, even if I die, I'll drag a few down with me. As he spoke, Di Wuba's body expanded, becoming bigger and bigger. Di Wuba, what are you doing? Stop right now. Di Wuba's actions caused the faces of Tian Mingdao and the rest to change drastically. They even revealed terrified expressions. It was obvious that Di Wuba wanted to self-detonate. Di Wuba was completely disappointed with the higher-ups of Emperor God Palace. Since you won't save me, I won't let you have it easy even if I die. Lunatic, he's really a lunatic. At this moment, Aaron Pill Devil was also a little flustered. Di Wuba was an existence that was close to the heavenly supreme realm. If he self-destructed here, the consequences would be dire. Stop. I've decided to save you. Helpless, overwhelming Pill Devil had to shout. It's too late to save him now. It was Ning Yu who answered Howren Pill Devil. He continuously forced out his blood essence and fused it into the death eye of the Three Eyes formation. Under the stimulation of the blood essence, a terrifying devouring power was continuously stimulated from the dead eye. This devouring power did not go to devour Di Wuba. Instead, it entered Di Wuba's body and accelerated his self-destruction. Ningyu, let's talk this through. At this point, Di Wuba could no longer control his body. Originally, Di Wuba wanted to use this method to stimulate the overwhelming Pill Devil, but now that he succeeded, he couldn't control his body. If this continued, he would self-destruct in a few seconds at most. Defend. Seeing that they could not save Di Wuba, Overwhelming Pill Demon and Tian Mingdao reached an agreement in an instant and began to set up defenses. I can't accept this. Di Wuba lowered his head and looked at his expanding body. He opened his mouth and shouted, "Rumble." However, before Di Wuba could finish his words, his body exploded. With Di Wuba as the center, a terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. Catcher, catcher. Crisp sounds rang out on the 9th floor of the Ascension Pagoda. Under such a terrifying impact, the Three Eyes formation was on the verge of collapse, and there was a possibility that it could shatter at any time. At such a critical moment, Ningyu quietly took out the Life Eye and hid inside. In the Three Eyes formation, the Death Eye was in charge of killing, and the Life Eye was in charge of survival. If Ningyu hid in the Life Eye at this time, he still had a chance of survival. Otherwise, he would die without a doubt. The shockwave from Di Wuba's self-destruction continued to wreak havoc. Catcher. Not long after, the Death Eye completely cracked. After a while, the Life Eye also could not withstand it and shattered. At this point, the entire Three Eyes formation was already in ruins, and only the Life Eye was still bitterly holding on. Compared to Ningyu, Tian Mingdao and the others were not much better. Although the three of them were peak grade 9 alchemists, they still panicked when facing the shockwave from Di Wuba's self-destruction. This panic only lasted for a few seconds, and they calmed down. Soul Force interweaved to form a defensive barrier, surrounding Tian Mingdao and the other two, temporarily not endangering their lives. I didn't expect the 9th floor of the Ascension Pagoda to have a Three Eyes formation, and it was even controlled by Ningyu. Looking at Ningyu in the Life Eye, Overwhelming Pill Demon's eyes were cold, and he said solemnly, "Think of a way to kill Ningyu later, to prevent future trouble." No. Tian Mingdao and Jinyi shook their heads at the same time. Ningyu can control the Three Eyes formation, it means that he is indeed very capable, Maybe he has a way to enter the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda. We have to capture him and force the way to enter the 10th floor. Are you sure he has a way to enter the 10th floor? Overwhelming Pill Demon asked doubtfully. Not very sure, but at least he has a way than us. Tian Mingdao said. All right, I'll listen to you later. Overwhelming Pill Demon nodded and chose to compromise. Along the way, he didn't find that thing in the first 9 floors of the Ascension Pagoda. Maybe he could find it in the 10th floor. Therefore, he must go to the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda. I have to think of a way to break through the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda. In the life eye, Ningyu's expression was cold, and he was quickly thinking of a countermeasure. His soul force hadn't reached the Ascension Emperor level, so he shouldn't be able to enter the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda. But Di Wubar's self-destruction gave him a chance. As long as he could draw the shockwave of Di Wubar's self-destruction to a point, he would have a chance to break through space and teleport him to the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda. Let's give it a try. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu did as he said. Ningyu knew very well that if he stayed here, he would die. When the shockwave of Di Wubar's self-destruction dissipated, it would be his death. Before that, he had to draw the shockwave of Di Wubar's self-destruction to a point and try to blast space. Red Demon Sword. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu took out the Red Demon Sword. Law of Space, think of a way to open a special passage. Sapling, transfer all the devouring power in your body to the Red Demon Sword and help me draw the shockwave to that point. The Red Demon Sword in Ningyu's hand suddenly stabbed out. In midair, a point of void shook slightly before returning to its original state of tranquility. Ningyu knew that he had found the void point. What he had to do next was to draw the shockwave there. No problem. Got it. The sapling and the Law of Space knew the severity of the problem, so they started to act. The Law of Space constructed a passage. The sapling thought for a moment before entering the Red Demon Sword. In any case, the Red Demon Sword had its own space, so no one would notice it going in. All right, let's go. With everything ready, Ningyu controlled the life eye and dashed out. Chapter 1393. Chapter 1393. Chapter 1393. Di Potian. What is he trying to do? Tian Mingdao, Jin Yi, and the others were a bit overwhelmed by the terrifying engulfing power. Now that they saw what Ningyu was doing, they were instantly dumbfounded. Trying to lure the engulfing power over? Was he insane? In the hearts of Tian Mingdao and the others, they unanimously thought that Ningyu had lost his mind. Otherwise, who would do something so strenuous and unrewarding? Ningyu was only safe from the shockwave because he was in the Eye of Life. Otherwise, Ningyu would have died a long time ago. Just a bit more. All of the shockwaves attacked the Eye of Life, and even Ningyu was having a bit of a hard time. However, Ningyu did not dodge. Because his survival depended on whether he could break through the barrier of the 10th level and enter the 10th level of the Tower of Yuzuan. Go in, live. Don't go in, die. It was that simple. Just a little bit more. Ningyu was trying to determine the strength of the shockwave. If the shockwave was too weak, it would not be able to break through the barrier. If it was too strong, he would not be able to withstand it, and Tian Mingdao and the others would be completely safe. There were too many things that Ningyu had to consider. Now's the time. 3 minutes later, Ningyu suddenly threw the Red Demon Sword toward a point in space. Whoosh! A terrifying shockwave swept out from behind the Red Demon Sword and struck the point in space. Just as the shockwave was about to strike the Red Demon Sword, it suddenly dove into the spatial passageway created by the Law of Space. Boom! Without the Red Demon Sword as its target, the shockwave all struck the point in space. At this moment, the entire 9th level of the Tower of Yuzuan began to tremble violently. With the point in space as the center, a giant pillar of light appeared and illuminated the entire floor of the Tower of Yuzuan. Let's go. Ningyu was overjoyed to see the giant pillar of light appear, and he hurriedly flew out and landed in the area illuminated by the pillar of light. Not only Ningyu, but even the Red Demon Sword also tore through space and returned to Ningyu's storage ring. The Law of Space naturally returned to the storage ring with the Red Demon Sword. Shio! The red demon sword had only just disappeared into his storage ring when a huge pillar of light enveloped Ningyu and shot into the sky. Then, under the shocked gazes of Tian Mingdao and the others, Ningyu entered the void. And disappeared. Catcher. What Ningyu did not know was that not long after he disappeared, the void of the Transcendence Pagoda's 9th level split open once again. The person who appeared this time was Master Xingyun. Just as he landed on the 9th floor of the Tower of Ascension, Master Xingyun was stunned. Because he discovered that this place had just experienced a grand formation. Furthermore, Grandmaster Xingyun's expression changed slightly. He said in a deep voice, "Someone self-destructed. You've finally come." Only when Grandmaster Xingyun appeared did Tian Mingdao and the others react to Ningyu's disappearance. Strictly speaking, they were not affected much by Di Wuba's self-destruction. After all, Ningyu had attracted most of the shockwave away, so their lives were naturally not in danger. Originally, they wanted to explore the void. And find a way to break it open. But Grandmaster Xingyun's appearance temporarily changed their minds. Control Grandmaster Xingyun first. It was not that they did not want to control Grandmaster Xingyun back on the 3rd level, but they could not. This was because from the 4th level onwards, everyone would be teleported to a random space. Unless the 3 of them worked together, it would be very difficult for others to control Grandmaster Xingyun. What do you want? Grandmaster Xingyun's expression was cold. Even I can only reach the 9th level of the Transcendence Pagoda. I have no way of entering the 10th level. Completely ignoring Grandmaster Xingyun's words, Tian Mingdao said coldly, "You have 2 choices. First, bring us to the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda and hand over that thing. Second, we kill you, search your memories, and forcefully enter the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda. Even if you kill me, you won't be able to enter the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda." Grandmaster Xingyun spread his hands and said, "Who are you trying to deceive? Ningyu has already entered the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda." Overwhelming Pill Demon berated, "Don't be so shameless, quickly bring us to the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda." Ningyu entered the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda? Hearing Overwhelming Pill Demon's words, Grandmaster Xingyun was finally moved. No one knew better than him how difficult it was to enter the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda. 20 years ago, Grandmaster Xingyun remembered what Ningyu said. There were 2 ways to enter the 10th level. First, the strength of one's soul force had to reach the core-breaking Emperor stage. Second, use brute force to attack the void. Grandmaster Xingyun was very clear about the first method. Now that his soul force had reached the level of liquid into a core, it was not far from breaking through to the core-breaking Emperor stage. However, he could not understand the second method. Over the years, he had used brute force to attack the void. More than once, but without exception, he had never succeeded. The Ningyu that Overwhelming Pill Demon mentioned was only a 7th grade human supreme. Even if he could borrow the shockwave from Di Wuba's self-destruction, it should be very difficult to break through the 10th level. How did Ningyu do it? Could it be? Thinking of this, Grandmaster Xingyun's face revealed a serious expression. Grandmaster Xingyun thought of a possibility, a terrifying possibility. Ningyu and the Ningyu from 20 years ago, that is, his master, were related. Ningyu had the same name as his master. He did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. After all, there were many people with the same name in this world. However, the fact that Ningyu could break through the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda made him take it seriously. How can this be fake? Tian Mingdao took a step forward and said coldly, "Ningyu controlled the 3 eyes formation and forced Di Wuba to self-destruct. Then, he used the shockwave to open a void. And enter the 10th level of the Transcendence Pagoda. What a good method. Alright, I'll tell you the truth. There are actually 2 ways to enter the 10th level." Taking a deep breath, Grandmaster Xingyun said, "First, as long as your soul force reaches the core-breaking Emperor stage, you can enter the 10th level at will." Bullshit. Impossible. There are only a handful of people in the Pill Formation mainland whose soul force has reached the core-breaking Emperor stage. The faces of the Overwhelming Pill Demon and the others turned ugly. They thought that Grandmaster Xingyun was lying to them. Second, use brute force to attack the void. Grandmaster Xingyun ignored Tian Mingdao and the others' expressions and continued, as long as your attack is strong enough, you can definitely blast open the void. And enter the 10th level. Hearing what you said, we do want to give it a try. At this moment, an indifferent voice came from Tian Mingtao's body. Whoosh. Then, a figure slowly appeared. Celestial Emperor Palace, Di Potian. Staring at the figure that suddenly appeared, Grandmaster Xingyun's face turned solemn. The reason why Grandmaster Xingyun did not make a move was because he sensed that Tian Mingdao was unusual. There was a terrifying energy fluctuation coming from Tian Mingtao's body. Di Potian was an old ancestor of Celestial Emperor Palace. Rumor had it that he had passed away. Chapter 1394. The 10th Floor. Di Potian was known as the strongest genius of the Divine Emperor Palace in the past 100 years. 30 years ago, Di Potian had already reached the Heavenly Sovereign Realm. So right now, he had probably reached an even higher level. Master Xingyun's face turned cold when he saw Di Potian. He had thought that someone was hiding in Tian Mingtao's body, but he didn't expect it to be Di Potian. In the Pagoda of Ascension, he had a way to deal with ordinary heavenly sovereigns. However, he didn't even have the courage to resist a Sky Supreme like Di Potian. Swish. Suddenly, a figure jumped out from Jin Yi's body and landed on the 10th floor of the Tower of Ascension. Jin Xinghai. If Master Xingyun was shocked when he saw Di Potian, then he was speechless when he saw Jin Xinghai. Compared to Di Potian, Jin Xinghai was even more terrifying. Human sovereigns were divided into 9 grades. Earth sovereigns were also divided into 9 grades. Sky sovereigns were divided into 5 grades: initial, middle, late, peak, and great perfection. Although Di Potian was strong, Grandmaster Xingyun knew that his cultivation should be at the early Sky Supreme realm, not the mid-Sky Supreme realm. But Jin Xinghai was different. He was a genuine mid-stage Sky Supreme. Since everyone is here, I'll join in the fun. The space beside the overwhelming pill demon suddenly split open, and a figure wrapped in a black robe slowly appeared. Demon Slayer. Seeing the black-robed martial artist, Master Xingyun's initial wishful thinking completely disappeared. Di Potian was terrifying, but he was only an early Sky Supreme. Jin Xinghai was terrifying, but he was only a mid-Sky Supreme. The terror of the Demon Slayer was the true terror. To be precise, Demon Slayer was the overwhelming pill demon's master. Mid-stage Sky Supreme realm cultivation and the strength of his liquefied pellet soul force. Whether it was the strength of his soul or cultivation, he wasn't weaker than Master Xingyun. Master Xingyun had no way to deal with such a cultivator. Haha, Demon Slayer, I haven't seen you in a few days. Your strength has improved again. Di Potian said with a smile. Although Di Potian was only a mid-Sky Supreme, he didn't seem nervous when talking to Demon Slayer. On the contrary, Demon Slayer and Jin Xinghai were very respectful to him. Something's wrong. Master Xingyun faintly felt that something was wrong. This feeling made Master Xingyun very depressed that he couldn't catch or touch it. Same here. Demon Slayer waved his hand and said, Grandmaster Xingyun is right. There are only 2 ways to enter the 10th floor. First, your soul force has to reach the core ascension realm. At this point, Demon Slayer paused for a moment. Then, he continued, obviously, we can't achieve this method. As for the second method, it is to use brute force to bombard the void point. Just now, when that Ningyu blocked the shockwave from Di Wu Ba's self-destruction, I observed for a while and realized that things weren't that simple. Hearing this, Jin Xinghai was slightly startled and asked doubtfully, what do you mean? Not only was Jin Xinghai confused, even Di Potian, Tian Mingdao, and the others were confused. Ningyu had indeed used brute force to blast open the void point. Could it be that there was some unknown story behind it? It's simple. The moment Ningyu bombarded the void point, he chanted a few spells. Demon Slayer's lips curled up and said, to enter the 10th floor of the Tower of Ascension, brute force alone is not enough. Don't you think so, Grandmaster Xingyun? Grandmaster Xingyun's heart skipped a beat. To be honest, even Grandmaster Xingyun didn't know this spell. 20 years ago, whether it was his cultivation or soul force, he was far weaker than he was now. Naturally, Ningyu wouldn't tell him such an important spell. I don't know what spell it is. Grandmaster Xingyun shook his head and said, even if you kill me, I won't know it. Hehe, looks like you won't cry until you see the coffin. Demon Slayer smiled and said indifferently. Nebula Academy sent a total of 6 groups of geniuses. Without exception, all of them were intercepted by us. I'll ask you one last time, do you know the spell? Think carefully before you answer, because one word from you could cause the death of many people. Crack crack. Grandmaster Xingyun's face was ashen and bloodless. For Demon Slayer to say this, it was already very obvious. Grandmaster Xingyun was very annoyed. His old friends were already in place. As long as he gave the order, they would launch a counterattack. Demon Slayer, Di Potian, and Jin Xinghai's appearance had completely disrupted his plan. If it weren't for these 3 guys, not only would he be able to escape unscathed, but he would also be able to capture the Emperor Divine Palace, the Jin family, and the rogue cultivator. I'll give you 3 minutes to think about it. Demon Slayer looked very human-like. He shrugged and said, give me a definite answer in 3 minutes. After saying this, Demon Slayer paced back and forth on the 9th floor of the Tower of Ascension, trying his best to probe the floor. Grandmaster Xingyun's eyes darted around, trying to think of a solution. Am I going to die here? Even though he was trying hard to think of a solution, Grandmaster Xingyun was already on the verge of giving up. Unless his soul force broke through the limit and reached the Ascension Emperor realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to deal with Demon Slayer alone, let alone Di Potian and Jin Xinghai. Master, I believe that you're still alive. Clenching his fists, Grandmaster Xingyun muttered inwardly, even if I have to destroy the Ascension Pagoda, I won't let it fall into the hands of others. At the same time, on the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda, Ningyu stood on the spot with excitement on his face. It's been 20 years. I never thought that I'd be able to return to this floor. Ningyu sighed with emotion. His thoughts also returned to 20 years ago. 20 years ago, he used everything he had to refine the reincarnation pellet at the pinnacle of the Sky Demon realm. But it was a pity that he exhausted himself and was besieged by 9 pinnacle Earth sovereigns. At that time, Ningyu felt that it was fortunate that he gave the Ascension Pagoda to Xingyun. Otherwise, a treasure like the Ascension Pagoda would fall into the hands of the 9 pinnacle Earth sovereigns. But who could have imagined that the reincarnation pellet would allow him to be reborn into the body of a youth called Ningyu 20 years later? It wasn't easy for him to step into the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda. With these resources, I'll start my journey of revenge against the 9 pinnacle Earth sovereigns. Ningyu clenched his fists tightly, and a cold expression appeared on his face. The Corpse Sect, God Emperor Palace, Blood God Palace, the 9 pinnacle Earth sovereigns sect slowly appeared in Ningyu's mind. Chapter 1395. Berserk Territory. The 10th level of the Uezuan Pagoda. Compared to the previous levels, this level was a little special. The 10th level of the Uezuan Pagoda was separated into 3 regions. The first region was called the Berserk Territory, which contained all sorts of demonic beasts. The strength of the demonic beasts would be determined by the cultivator. That also meant that if the cultivator was at the 7th grade sovereign realm, the demonic beast would be at the 8th grade sovereign realm. If the cultivator was at the 7th grade sovereign realm, then the demonic beast would be at the 8th grade sovereign realm. Standing before the Berserk Territory, Ningyu took a deep breath and slowly calmed his mind. In his previous life, Ningyu had suffered quite a bit in this region. After all, Ningyu's cultivation was already at the 8th grade sovereign realm when he entered the 10th level of the Uezuan Pagoda in his previous life. An 8th grade sovereign would be facing a 9th grade sovereign realm demonic beast. Back then, Ningyu had spent a great deal of effort to enter the second region. Thinking about it, Ningyu still felt some lingering fear. If his cultivation was at the 9th grade sovereign realm when he entered the 10th level in his previous life, then the consequences would be unimaginable. That's because a ninth-grade sovereign realm would be facing a heavenly sovereign realm demonic beast. Berserk territory, here I come. Stomping on the ground, Ningyu charged into the berserk territory at a terrifying speed. At the same time, Ningyu shook his wrist and summoned the red demonic sword. Rustle. When Ningyu entered the berserk territory, a horde of demonic beasts appeared before him. The cultivation of those demonic beasts were all at the 8th grade sovereign realm. Kill them. With Ningyu's current strength, he could even kill a pinnacle 1st grade earth sovereign, not to mention these 8th grade sovereign realm demonic beasts. Sizzle. Sizzle. Every time Ningyu slashed out with his sword, a demonic beast would be killed. Because these beasts were created from the 10th floor of the Ascension Pagoda, every time Ningyu killed them, they would turn into nothingness and enter a white pearl in the deepest part of the berserk zone. Ningyu knew what the white pearl was. It was the essence of all demonic beasts. The demon beasts were formed from essence chi, so after they died, they all returned to the white pearl. Strictly speaking, these demonic beasts were more similar to the essence chi pill puppets. They were all formed from essence. Kai. Ningyu didn't have time to think about those messy things. He waved his hands again and again, striving to kill a few more demon beasts in the limited time. The time limit for the berserk zone was half an hour. As long as they could stay inside for half an hour, it meant that they had successfully passed through this area. Ningyu was different. Not only did he want to stay for half an hour, but he also wanted to kill more demonic beasts. If those people from hundreds or thousands of years ago knew what Ningyu was thinking, they would probably be shocked. When they were in the berserk zone, they had used all their trump cards and almost couldn't hold on for half an hour. Ningyu, on the other hand, actually started a massacre here. It was truly infuriating to compare oneself to others. Rumble. Half an hour passed quickly. In this half an hour, Ningyu had killed over 100 demonic beasts. Just the thought of 108th grade human supreme realm demonic beasts was terrifying. Shoo. Then, Ningyu's figure flashed and dashed toward the white bead. The white bead contained the essence of numerous demonic beasts. If he could devour and refine it, Ningyu was confident that he could advance to 8th grade human supreme martial artist. It was even possible for him to advance to the 9th grade human supreme realm. Raw. However, before Ningyu could reach the white bead, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. This was because the white bead had undergone a strange change. The white bead suddenly exploded, and a giant creature appeared in front of Ningyu. This giant creature had 2 horns on its head, a pair of wings on its back, and 8 legs. After the giant creature appeared, it raised its head and let out a furious roar, then dashed toward Ningyu. What the hell is this? Ningyu was shocked. Even though he had seen many things, he had never seen this monster before. Moreover, after Ningyu passed through the berserk zone in his previous life, the white bead didn't change at all. Why did the white bead transform into a terrifying monster in this life? Could it be that he had killed too many demonic beasts and was punished? The more he thought about it, the more Ningyu felt that it was possible. Damn it, I should have killed fewer of them. Ningyu was a little annoyed, but that was all. This monster's cultivation was only 1st grade Earth Supreme Martial Artist, not 2nd grade Earth Supreme Martial Artist. Ningyu was confident that he could deal with a 1st grade Earth Supreme Martial Artist. You dare to disturb my sleep. Die. The monster locked onto Ningyu and stomped its foot on Ningyu. A 1st grade Earth Supreme Martial Artist demonic beast strength could be imagined. It was even stronger than humans of the same level. Facing this monster, Ningyu didn't dare to take it lightly. You want me dead? Not so easy. Instead of retreating, Ningyu advanced and slashed with the red demon sword. Crack. With a crisp sound, one of the monster's feet was chopped off by the red demon sword. Roar. With one of its feet chopped off, the monster let out a hysterical roar. I thought you were powerful, but this is all you've got. Ningyu shrugged and asked doubtfully, are you really a 1st grade Earth Supreme Martial Artist demonic beast? Human, don't get cocky, the monster said coldly. Don't get cocky? I'm a 1st grade Earth Supreme Martial Artist. Ningyu curled his lips. Before he could finish his mocking words, he couldn't help but curse. Because Ningyu discovered that the monster's foot that he had chopped off had grown back. What the hell? Ningyu's eyes widened. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Limb regeneration. What the hell was this monster? How could it regrow limbs? Die. After the foot grew back, the monster charged at Ningyu for the second time. I don't believe it. Ningyu clenched his teeth and waved the red demon sword again, chopping off several of the monster's feet. Unfortunately, after a few seconds, the monster's legs that had been chopped off had all grown back. Chop off its 8th foot. That's its main foot. At this critical moment, the sapling's words rang in Ningyu's mind. Screw it. Now that things had come to this, Ningyu had no other choice but to make a last-ditch effort. He injected the red demon sword with his sea of consciousness and slashed at the monster's 8th foot. Crack. Ah. In the next moment, 2 figures could be heard. The first was the crisp sound of the monster's 8th foot being chopped off. The second was the monster's squeal like a pig being slaughtered. Ningyu discovered that the monster's 8th foot did not grow back after it was chopped off. In fact, even the other 7 legs grew smaller and smaller until they eventually disappeared. Ah ah ah. A hysterical scream came from the monster's mouth. You're finished. I'm going to turn you into ashes. Chapter 1396. Chapter 1396. Blackie, why isn't it time yet? Ningyu knitted his brows in confusion. The Berserk Zone had a time limit of half an hour, and the demonic beasts had indeed disappeared within half an hour. Now that Ningyu had been fighting the monster for a few minutes, the time limit should have been up by now. If the monster knew what Ningyu was thinking, it would probably vomit blood from anger. Those low-level demonic beasts had a time limit of half an hour. Given its special identity, it should at least have an hour, right? Human, unless you can last for an hour, the monster said coldly. What? An hour? Are you F***king kidding me? Ningyu interrupted the monster and said in surprise, cut the crap. You'd better get lost. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences of angering me. You. Hearing Ningyu's words, the monster gnashed its teeth in anger and even trembled. What about me? I'm not killing you because I think highly of you. Do you really think I can't kill you? Ningyu curled his lips and said, if you know what's good for you, you'd better not block my way. Move aside. As he spoke, Ningyu walked straight ahead. I'm so angry. This damned Berserk Zone actually suppressed my cultivation to grade 1 Earth Supreme. Otherwise, I would have definitely swallowed you alive. The monster said coldly. Ningyu stopped when he heard this, and then he stared at the monster and said, you're saying that you're able to bring forth even greater strength? Of course. It's all because you're only a grade 7 human supreme. Otherwise, how could my strength be so low? The monster said proudly, if you were a grade 7 Earth Supreme, my strength would have reached the Heavenly Supreme level. Are you sure that if I were a grade 7 Earth Supreme, your strength would have reached the Heavenly Supreme level? Ningyu revealed a doubtful expression as he said, 20 years ago, my cultivation was at the 8th grade Earth Sovereign Realm. I don't recall any changes to the White Pearl. That's because I fell asleep. The monster scratched its head and said. Ningyu's face darkened. Are you F***king asleep? Even if he wanted to lie, he had to make it more believable. Who would believe a bunch of nonsense like this? Me. Seeing Ningyu's face, the monster snorted coldly. Then, with a shake of its body, it transformed into a golden-haired little girl. F***ck. Ningyu fainted. What was going on? Why did the monster turn into a little girl? If it weren't for the fact that Ningyu had seen many strange things, he would have changed his view of this world. Who exactly are you? For some reason, after the monster turned into a little girl, Ningyu's nervousness instantly disappeared. That was because this little girl did not seem to pose any threat at all. I am the master of the Tower of Yuzuan, the little girl said with a shocking tone. Will you die if you don't bullshit? Ningyu rolled his eyes. A monster like you actually dared to claim to be the owner of the Tower of Yuzuan? Who said I'm bullshitting? I can control the duration of the berserk zone. The golden-haired girl was very dissatisfied. She said coldly, if you don't believe me, you can enter the berserk zone again. I'll raise the time limit to 1 hour. Really? Ningyu said doubtfully, then swear to the heavens that the white pearl will be mine. You can't snatch it from me. I don't want that piece of trash. The golden-haired girl took out a white pearl and threw it into the deepest part of the berserk zone. Go in, I'll raise the time limit to 1 hour. Ningyu was skeptical, but he still stepped into the berserk zone. The reason why Ningyu stepped into the berserk zone again was because the second zone was very special. With his cultivation of a 7th grade human supreme, it would be very difficult for him to pass. Only by obtaining the white pearl in the first zone and raising his cultivation to the 8th grade human supreme could he ensure that he could pass the second zone. Whoosh! As soon as Ningyu stepped into the berserk zone, something strange happened. Several demonic beasts tore through the void and roared as they charged at Ningyu. Kill! At this moment, Ningyu couldn't care less anymore. He waved the red demon sword and started fighting the demonic beasts. Nice. Every slash from Ningyu would kill a demonic beast, which would then turn into a cold light and enter the white pearl. The golden-haired girl clapped and cheered at the side. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Crack. When Ningyu killed the last demonic beast, the berserk zone regained its peace. It really stopped. Although Ningyu didn't think that the girl would lie to him, he was still a little shocked to see that the berserk zone had really stopped. The white pearl is mine. Calming himself down from the shock, Ningyu walked past the little girl and picked up the white bead. Raw. However, as soon as Ningyu picked up the white pearl, he quickly threw it away. The white bead drew a beautiful arc in the air, and then transformed into a huge monster. It raised its head to the sky and let out an angry roar. I'm finally out. To Ningyu's surprise, the behemoth didn't attack him. Instead, it shouted. Ningyu stared at the huge creature, then at the little girl, and said solemnly, "It's your family. Little Black, come here." What happened next made Ningyu's jaw drop. The golden-haired girl waved her hand at the huge creature and said, "Can you not be so scary in front of my friend?" Eh? The huge creature called Little Black immediately became listless when it heard the golden-haired girl's words. Little Black was initially the controller of the berserk region. Whenever someone tried to barge into the berserk region, he would be the one guarding it. But 50 years ago, the golden-haired girl, no, she should be called the golden-haired little ancestor, actually knocked him out and became the controller of the berserk region. It's fine if you did that, but 20 years ago, you actually let an 8th grade Earth Sovereign in for no reason and even allowed that 8th grade Earth Sovereign to control the pagoda of you. Fortunately, that 8th grade Earth Sovereign did not discover the secret of the pagoda of you. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Before Ningyu, Little Black could be enraged and go berserk. But before the golden-haired girl, he couldn't do anything. Thus, he could only shrink his body to the same size as the golden-haired girl. A pocket-sized monster? Ningyu was briefly stunned before he asked the golden-haired girl, "Who are you?" "I've already said that I'm the owner of the pagoda of you." The golden-haired girl righteously said, "In the future, you have to call me master when you speak to me." Little Black, quickly hand over the white pearl. From today onwards, he will be my little brother. The golden-haired girl acted like an adult as she continued, "As long as he's willing, he can enter the berserk region at any time. You can't make a move against him, you can only hand the white pearl over to him. Great Aunt, everything has to go according to the rules. He has to defeat me to obtain the white pearl, but now..." Little Black was on the verge of tears. He wondered why this little ancestor would have her eyes on the berserk region and insist on coming here to play. Crack. Halfway through his words, Little Black abruptly stopped. Chapter 1397. Chapter 1397. Chapter 1397 exclamations. Shit. Seeing the sudden appearance of several figures, Little Black and the golden-haired girl did not have any reaction, but Ningyu's expression changed drastically as if he was facing a formidable enemy. There were a total of 7 people at the entrance of the Ascension Pagoda. Ningyu recognized 4 of them. Tian Mingdao, Jin Yi, the overwhelming pill demon, and Master Xingyun. As for the other 3, Ningyu had no impression of them. Although he had no impression of the other 3, Ningyu's face wasn't too good. That's because the 3 of them were stronger than Tian Mingdao and the rest. Indeed, the 3 of them were the overwhelming pill demon's master, Demon Slayer, Di Potian, and the Jin family's old patriarch, Jin Xinghai. Ha ha ha. Their reactions were different from Ningyu's. When Tian Mingdao and the others saw Ningyu, they were stunned at first, but then they threw their heads back and laughed. It's really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find what you're looking for without even looking for it. Ningyu, come here obediently to die, or else, meet. Before Tian Mingdao could finish his words, the golden-haired girl snorted and placed her hands on her waist. Xiaohei, go and dig out that idiot's eyeballs. Hearing the golden-haired girl's words, Xiaohei's face was covered in black lines. Grandaunt, let's not make trouble here, okay? I'm only the guardian of the Berserk Zone, unlike you. I have to do things according to the rules. Unless they step into the Berserk Zone and last till the end, I won't be able to do anything to them. What? You dare to call me an idiot? Compared to Xiaohei's reaction, Tian Mingdao wasn't any better. His eyes were widened with a dumbfounded expression. A little girl actually dared to say such words to him? It's fine if she called him an idiot, but she even wanted to dig out his eyes. Auntie could endure it, but uncle couldn't. Tian Mingdao was enraged. In his view, although the golden-haired girl's aura was steady, her cultivation was, at most, in the 1st-grade Earth Sovereign realm. He was a 7th-grade Earth Sovereign, and his soul energy had reached the pinnacle of the 9th-grade Earth Sovereign realm. Dealing with this golden-haired girl was a piece of cake. Whoosh. Therefore, Tian Mingdao moved. It was fine if he didn't move, but once he did, it would shock the heavens. Tian Mingdao transformed into an afterimage and charged straight at the golden-haired little girl. At this moment, Tian Mingdao even gave up on Ningyu. He wanted to get rid of the arrogant golden-haired girl first. He wanted to let her know that there was always someone better out there. Wait. Seeing Tian Mingdao rush out, Di Potian narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Be careful, it might be a trap." For some reason, Di Potian felt that the golden-haired girl was not simple. On the surface, the little girl seemed to be a 1st-grade Earth Sovereign. However, he couldn't see through her. Tian Mingdao was a peak 9th-grade alchemist, but he was the key to collecting that thing. He did not want anything to happen to Tian Mingdao. It's fine. I'll be right back. Tian Mingdao waved his hand without looking back. If a tiger doesn't show its might, they'll think I'm a sick cat. Tian Mingdao didn't take Di Potion's warning seriously. His speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already very far away. Voila! What Tian Mingdao didn't expect was that as soon as he took a few steps, the weather around him suddenly changed. The space around him tore apart and several terrifying demonic beasts appeared around him. Roar! When those demonic beasts appeared, they immediately launched terrifying attacks at Tian Mingdao. 8th-grade Earth Sovereign Realm demonic beasts. Seeing the demonic beasts around Tian Mingdao, Di Potian and the rest sucked in a cold breath. If it was just one demonic beast, Tian Mingdao could easily deal with it. However, there were many demonic beasts around, and all of them were 8th-grade Earth Sovereigns. This was extremely difficult for Tian Mingdao. Retreat! Di Potian yelled at the critical moment. Di Potian wasn't a fool. He only asked Tian Mingdao to retreat, but did not take the initiative to rescue him. I want to King quit too. Tian Mingdao felt like crying. It wasn't that he didn't want to retreat, but he couldn't. Every time he wanted to retreat, the surrounding demonic beasts would launch a violent attack, as if they wouldn't stop until one of them was dead. At this moment, Tian Mingdao was already regretting being too impulsive and not listening to Di Potion's warning. However, it was useless to say anything now. For the sake of survival, he could only bring out his pinnacle 9th-grade soul force. Tian Mingdao's soul force was at the pinnacle 9th-grade Earth Sovereign Realm. Bang! Bang! With the help of his soul force, Tian Mingdao unleashed his might and forced the demonic beasts to retreat. Once the demonic beast's cultivation reached the advanced Earth sovereign realm, it would be extremely difficult to kill them. Although Tian Mingdao had gained the upper hand, he still hadn't killed a single demonic beast. Blackie, I don't care how you do it, but dig out his eyes. Seeing that Tian Mingtao's initial disadvantage had turned into victory, the little girl was extremely unhappy. She kicked Blackie's butt and said, "Aren't you the king of the Berserk region? What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and deal with him." The king of the Berserk region? The little girl's words made the faces of Di Potian and the rest turn grave. Before coming to the Yuzuan pagoda, they knew nothing about the 10th level. Truth be told, they were also a little shocked that they could appear in the 10th level. As for the Berserk region, the little girl, and Blackie, they had never heard of them before. Russell. In an instant, Di Potian and the rest turned their gazes to Grandmaster Xingyun, trying to get some information from him. I have no idea. Grandmaster Xingyun spread his hands out. You guys should know that the Yuzuan pagoda doesn't belong to me. If the Yuzuan pagoda doesn't belong to you, then whose treasure is it? Di Potian asked. Ningyu. Grandmaster Xingyun faintly said. Nonsense. Before Di Potian could reply, Jinyi coldly said, Ningyu is only an initial 7th grade sovereign, and this is his first time entering the Yuzuan pagoda. How can the Yuzuan pagoda? No. Are you talking about that Ningyu? In the beginning, Jinyi still had disbelief on her face. However, before she could finish her sentence, a look of horror appeared on her face. I got it. You're Ningyu's disciple. A cold light flashed in Demon Slayer's eyes as he said in a solemn voice, 20 years ago, Ningyu was surrounded by 9 pinnacle Earth sovereigns on the Sky Demon Summit and unfortunately fell. Even the demonic lotus flames and heavenly fire cauldron fell from the Sky Demon Summit. 10 years after the incident, you once went to the bottomless abyss below the heavenly demon summit to look for something. We all thought you found the demonic lotus flame, but now it seems that you didn't go there to find the demonic lotus flame, but to find Ningyu's corpse. Russell. Demon Slayer's words left Di Potian and the rest dumbfounded. If Demon Slayer's speculation was true, then... Chapter 1398. Guessing his identity. The more Di Potian and the rest thought about it, the more they felt that Ningyu might still be alive. There were 2 reasons why they thought so. Firstly, when Ningyu fell from the Sky Demon realm, the sects of the 9 pinnacle Earth sovereigns joined forces and sent a large number of cultivators into the abyss. But it was a pity that they couldn't even find Ningyu's shadow. Secondly, Master Xingyun had only risen in the past 2 decades, and the speed of his rise was shocking. If it wasn't for Ningyu's guidance, how could Master Xingyun grow so quickly? 20 years ago, Master Xingyun's talent in alchemy was very strong, but it was only very strong. It was far from being amazing. To be able to grow to this extent in 20 years, perhaps only that fellow Ningyu could teach him, restrain him. Thinking of this, Di Potian formed a seal with both hands and placed several layers of seals on Master Xingyun's body. In the 9th level of the Ascension Pagoda, they had already placed many layers of seals on Master Xingyun. Now that they had guessed Master Xingyun's identity, they didn't dare to be careless. One must know that both the Emperor Palace and the Jin family had participated in the battle in the Sky Demon realm. Slayer Demon had also participated in that battle. However, he had set up an array formation in the surroundings to prevent Ningyu from escaping. Otherwise, with Ningyu's pinnacle 9th grade soul force and heavenly sovereign cultivation, it was possible for him to escape. Don't panic. Tumo's performance was slightly better than Di Potian and the rest. He waved his hand. Even if Ningyu is still alive, he can't do anything right now. Otherwise, why would he wait until now to deal with us? That's possible. Hearing Tumo's words and seeing how calm he was, Di Potian and the rest felt slightly relieved. Ningyu was powerful, but no matter how powerful he was, he had suffered an indelible injury. Recovering in 20 years. That was harder than ascending to the heavens. One must know that the 9 pinnacle Earth sovereigns back then had brought out all their trump cards. It was already a miracle that Ningyu had survived. How could he recover to his peak state? Dream on. What do we do now? After completely controlling Master Xingyun, Di Potian, and the others were still in trouble. Tian Mingdao was still fighting the 8th grade Earth Sovereign Realm demonic beasts. Although he had gained the upper hand, the demonic beasts seemed endless. Every time one was killed, another would take its place. Furthermore, the demonic beast that was killed turned into a streak of cold light and entered the mouth of Little Black in the distance. Wait. Demon Slayer took a deep breath and said solemnly, "We have no way to help Tian Mingdao now. We can only wait." Sigh, that's the only way. Di Potian looked at Tian Mingdao and said with a sigh, "This is infuriating." In the Berserk Zone, Tian Mingdao was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. In the beginning, he only suppressed these demonic beasts and did not kill them. But after a while, he realized that he had no choice but to forcefully kill a few demonic beasts. After killing them, his intestines turned green with regret, and he was extremely angry. This was because every time he killed a demonic beast, another demonic beast would immediately appear from the void. The new demonic beast was stronger than the demonic beasts he killed, be it in terms of condition or strength. If he had known this would happen, Tian Mingdao would not have killed the demonic beast. Little Black, are you going to help or not? At the end of the Berserk Zone, the golden-haired little girl placed her left hand on her waist and pointed at Little Black's nose with her right hand. That idiot dares to bully my people. Are you still my friend? Why don't you even dare to fart? Little Black's face alternated between green and white. It's not that I don't want to help, but that guy hasn't even lasted for half an hour. I can't do anything at all. Fine, you can scold me all you want. I won't refute anything. Little Black rolled his eyes, looking like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. After a while, the golden-haired little girl was done scolding Little Black. She directly kicked Little Black. Little Black had already made up his mind. No matter how she scolded and hit him, he would not move. He would not fight back. Ning Yu was completely convinced by this Little Black. You're a giant, a monster, but you don't dare to fight back against this little girl. If it were me, I don't dare to fight back either. Yes, you. Come here. After scolding and hitting him enough, the little girl hooked her finger at Ningyu and said, "Let me ask you, do you want to teach that idiot a lesson yourself?" Ah. Ningyu was slightly startled and then said, "I'm only a 7th grade human supreme. That idiot is a 7th grade Earth Supreme. Even 10 of me wouldn't be a match for him. That's easy. You just need to answer if you're willing." The golden-haired little girl waved her hand. "Yes, of course I'm willing." Ningyu hurriedly said. If there was a chance to teach Tian Mingdao a lesson, Ningyu would definitely not waste it. Little Black, go take a rest. Let Ningyu be the guardian of the Berserk Zone, the golden-haired little girl said. No way. Little Black shook his head like a rattle. He was the guardian of the Berserk Zone, the king. It would be fine if Ningyu was a Heaven Supreme, but Ningyu was only a human supreme. Letting Ningyu replace him, even temporarily, made him very unhappy. No way, right? Okay, for the next 100 years, I'll live here. The golden-haired little girl did not get angry. Okay. Who said no? Before the golden-haired little girl's voice faded, Little Black hurriedly said, Ningyu is a genius martialist, a peerless person who can last for a few hours in the Berserk Zone. It's my honor to let him temporarily replace me. Is that okay? Let's not. I'm very comfortable living in the Berserk Zone. I want to stay here for a while, the golden-haired little girl said hesitantly. Ayo, my great-aunt, please spare me. If Master finds out, I'll be done for. Little Black was about to cry. Why didn't you play by the rules? You don't seem to be sincere, the golden-haired little girl said, holding her chin with both hands. Sincere, as long as you say it's sincere. How could Little Black not know what the golden-haired little girl was thinking? He directly took out the white pearl and threw it to Ningyu. Pa. Catching the white pearl, Ningyu's eyes revealed a frightening expression. As an alchemist, Ningyu knew what was contained in the white bead. Berserk and pure energy. As long as he could refine this energy, Ningyu was very confident that he could advance to peak 7th grade human supreme, or even 8th grade human supreme, Ningyu cast a questioning gaze at the golden-haired little girl. "Don't worry, I'll protect you." The golden-haired little girl patted her chest and said, "You're mine. In the Tower of Yuzuan, I definitely won't allow anyone to hurt you." Thank you. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.